Alright guys, so we were able to install, okay, let me grab that diagram here and open it there.
Hi everybody.
Oh. Okay. Alright, so well, what a mess. So this diagram we are supposed to I'm just doing a revision of this. So we were able to deploy the VCSA from the Win01. It launched over the network into the ESXi hypervisor, and it deployed a virtual machine in which we have the VCSA software installed. That's the whole vCenter, and then we added, once it was installed, and it was installed on top of the storage that we created, and then we attached, or actually joined to the vCenter ESXi2 and ESXi3. Then we later joined ESXi1 as well. Also, we attached it to Active Directory as well, and then we checked the users that we were using there. But for the duration of the course, we will be using the actual account. So let me just the main account, the root account. So for the duration of the course, we will be using administrator at vSphere.local. Okay, so we will always try to log in from the VCSA, and we'll go with the rest of the topics now, which are, so we joined, okay, so it does not include we have already done. So join to Active Directory. Okay, connected vCenter with Microsoft Active Directory. Then we talked about resource pools at that time and in the last class. So this is just for managing, reserving minimum CPU and RAM or maximum CPU and RAM. So we were talking about resource pools, and then we need to talk about VApp and then virtual machine management as well. Okay, so before that, let's confirm that our machines are up and running. So I'm on Win01, from where we are connecting to the whole environment, from where we are remotely connecting to the VCSA, and in turn from there we're trying to control the whole environment. So on my Windows machine, I get this updates available. I'll click the get updates, and we'll minimize it, and later I'll just try to install it as well. So I'm in the vCenter, but I'm just gonna refresh it because after you unsuspend the machine and it starts up, so it's going to kick us out anyway from the vCenter. And I'll click the advanced and go down to proceed to VCSA, and from there we're gonna just try to use administrator at vSphere.local, the root account of the vCenter, and the password is small abc, capital ABC, shift 123, dot shift 123, enter. Okay, so I'm logged into the vCenter and it shows the folder on the top, Canada, US, and then there are data centers, TOR-DC and NYDC. Under the TOR-DC we have E6i1, E6i2. Under the NYDC we have E6i3, 2 and 3, E6i2 and 3 hypervisors or hosts are down, so I'm just gonna turn them on as well for 4GB. Okay, I'll power them both as well. Now 2GB here on Win01, actually 4GB I think. Yeah, 4GB on this machine, first Windows machine, then 12GB on hypervisor 1 E6i1 or host 1 E6i2 for 4GB. Okay, well, they are just coming up now. So last time what we were talking, I'm just gonna cancel here. We don't need to see all this on the left side, and I'll make it full screen here. So once they are powered on, obviously vCenter will detect them, and then we can just go ahead and okay, it's hidden behind this 101. I'll make it full screen again. Yeah, so we were talking about last time the resource pool, and we created a resource pool here. There's a sales VMs RP. Just a refresher here. Okay, so I think the E6i2 is still powering on. That's why it's not letting me right click or work on it. It's saying not responding as well here. So I'll just refresh the whole browser so it could detect the new configurations where E6i2 and E6i3 are also up. Okay, it has yet to detect them. I collapsed them. So right now on TOR-DC to connection and power state, host memory usage. So I see that E6i1, if I click on E6i1 here and I go for the summary view, so on the left side the hypervisor selection and on the right side is the summary view, and summary view normally just tells exactly what's going on that particular hypervisor, so it's showing host memory usage. Obviously 12GB is not enough for vCenter, but I've given it and it will survive. But if I go to the second one here, E6i2, so it says host connection, so select the hypervisor and then the summary of that, and it says host connection power state, cannot synchronize, cannot communicate with E6i2. If I check the E6i2 here, oh, that's right. So I clicked on it and then it kind of realized it needs to go ahead. Okay, I think it will be up now. To restore down. The 6i2 is about to be up, and 6i3 is about to be up as well. Okay. Well, while they are coming up, so I'm just going to expand the 6i1, and there. Oh, now 6i2 is okay. Well, I think it's up. 6i2, seriously, it's not showing that, but it should be up. Okay. I just need to expand this, and there's the sales RP, which is resource pool. And in the resource pool, I'm just going to right click on the resource pool here, and we'll try to go for edit resource settings. So the main thing we discussed there, okay, so I'll make it full screen again, is that for CPU and RAM, so CPU and memory, it's going to be we're gonna reserve it, which is the minimum of CPU. You can reserve that. It should the hypervisor is supposed to offer or keep or make available this much CPU, and reservation here this much memory. Also limit for CPU, whatever we put here, it can't go more than that. For critical machines, we should not put a cap. It's a recommendation. Some administrators do put that too. And for memory as well, the maximum it could go up to this. Then reservation type, we talked about that. Expandable, it means that if the limit has been reached, then if it is checked, the virtual machines inside the resource pool can ask for more. If it is unchecked, now they cannot ask for more. Whatever they got in terms of reservation and limit, that's all they get. They can't ask for more. Even though if suppose there is more RAM available by hypervisor. Expandable means yes, they can ask for more. Uncheck, they can't ask for more. And shares is overall priority of this resource pool in terms of CPU and memory, in terms of memory as well. So higher the shares, so you can create another resource pool with non-critical machines, or these could be most critical, and then there are comparatively lesser critical machines. So you can make sure then that these machines get the get the attention of the hypervisor first to be able to provide them the CPU and RAM. So higher the shares, the more priority they get. So we talked about the resource pool here, and then we created that. I'm just going to cancel it from here. And we then dragged and dropped the virtual machine inside the resource pool. So the resource pool related configurations will be applied on this virtual machine, or whatever number of virtual machines you want to drag inside. So if I just collapse that, so virtual machine is actually inside this, and expand that. If you want to want not the resource pool settings to be implemented on the virtual machine, obviously you can just take it out of the resource pool. If I right click on the resource pool and then there are these are all the other settings. So you can just create a new virtual machine inside a resource pool directly. You can create a new resource pool inside a resource pool. So that would be then the parent resource pool, and you can create a child resource pool. Suppose you've given a lot of RAM and CPU there, and then you create child resource pools as well. In the child resource pool, whichever virtual machines are there can ask for more from the parent resource pool. So when you create a child resource pool, you remember that expandable option. You can just put that on the child resource pool that yes, you can ask for more, but in the parent resource pool, you can actually uncheck that option. Hey parent, you need to arrange all the CPU and memory for all the virtual machines of the child resource pool as well. Other than that, we can create a new VApp, which is our next topic. We're going to be creating that now, but we can do that within the resource pool.
Wait, just a question. The virtual machine, when you're moving to a different resource pool, do you have to power them off?
No, it doesn't have to be. They can just move it powered on.
Okay.
Within the hypervisor, yes. And across hypervisor, then if the view motion is configured, then yes, otherwise no.
Okay, fine.
Okay, so here we were talking about then Ovf Template, just you want to export, import machines. That's again another upcoming topic. How do we export our virtual machine from the vCenter and import into the vCenter? So we go for then Open Virtualization Format, or OVF. In AWS course, Amazon Web Services, when you're downloading some appliances from AWS for Storage Gateway Lab, that's one of the labs there. So then you can just download that in OVF format, any virtual machine, into your environment, and then import it into your vCenter. So the rest of the options are move to, rename, tags and custom attributes, add permissions, alarms. You're going to create alarms there. You add permissions, delegation. So these are some common options there. So if we go out of it, pretty much this is when you reserve a CPU and RAM. Then you go for resource pool. But suppose you have Enterprise Plus license, then you can have DRS, Distributed Resource Scheduler. Distributed Resource Scheduler would do all that reservation for you. It's a very advanced feature, and it will delete all the resource pools. Then you don't need the resource pools if you have DRS, which is also an upcoming topic. So if you don't have DRS, then you can just put resource pool for critical machines. Okay, so here I'm just I put the machine inside, and it's actually saying VM01 is saying disconnected, which is not good. It should not be showing this. And I'm just going to expand A6i3 as well. I don't have my machine under that, and I have one machine which is the vCenter, inside which we are right now, and the other machine is here, VM01. So when it is saying disconnected, so I'm just going to click on this machine and go to it's already on the summary view, and summary view does not show any other errors. So what I can try to do is simply power it on first of all and check it out if some error pops up. So my recent task says here completed, and yeah, it just says VMware tool. So it's not, there's nothing else other than that it was shut down. So it was just showing disconnected, so I powered it on just to check that everything else is okay. Is there any error, specific error? So it's okay. Now what we need to do is I'm gonna take out that machine from the sales, and okay, so I'm gonna take out this machine here. I need to take it out from within the resource pool, and I want to put it back to ESXi2 hypervisor on the root level of the hypervisor, but outside of the resource pool. Like we dragged it first into this resource pool, we can just drag it out, or I can right click on the virtual machine itself, and normally it's move to folder that should show me, and there's store DC, which is this one selected. If I just press OK on top of that, the decision is the same as, yep, it's supposed to show the whole hierarchy here, that where we want to move this, but I think my browser is, yeah, last time also I was just checking this out. If I click that move to, there's nothing else clickable here other than nothing. So I'm going to cancel out from here, and I'm going to drag this machine on top. As soon as, see this, when I'm dragging, it's red, and it goes green. Well, that's the same where we are, but red and now it's green again. So I'll just drop it here, and now it's outside of the resource pool. So why did I put it outside of the resource pool? Because then we can just put this machine on another feature called VApp, which we can understand now. So VApp and resource pool work together as well, but what is VApp anyway? So VApp is about grouping the virtual machines together. Okay, what does that mean? You can group the virtual machines together to start them together, restart them together, or shut them down together. For patching purpose, for maintenance purpose, you want to group them to maybe you want to power them on one by one. So first you create a VApp, then you put as many machines inside, 4, 3, whichever. Suppose there are 4 web servers that you want always restarted during the patch week, and they can be restarted together, or they can be restarted in order. Like the first one has restarted after that, after 120 seconds of that, restart the second one, after 120 seconds restart the third one, and fourth one and fifth one, suppose. So you can do that from VApp when you create a VApp. So in ESXi2, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to just try to create 2 more machines just for experimentation. So what I'm going to do is that I'll just right click on the E6i2 and I'm going to create two quick empty virtual machines. Right, so I'm just going to click new virtual machine here and create a new virtual machine. I'll just, simple wizard, next, finish, and go for 2 or 3 virtual machines just to use them to explain a feature, right? So create a new virtual machine, next, and VM01, so I'll just go for VM02. If you already have VM02, 1 and 2, you can go for the next available, VM03 and 4, right? VM02, I'll just quickly create, it's store DC selected here, yeah, next. E6i2 selected, as long as this compatibility is okay, we're good. Normally errors appear here, so I'll click next here. And obviously we're going to be creating all of our virtual machines on top of the ones here, and in my case yeah, the numberings were different, so I'm just going to go for 1, DS1, and next. What I'm trying to do is I'm not going to put machines, I'll try not to put machines on top of the E6i1, which hosts our most critical virtual machines, the VCSA, because of so much low hardware configuration. It's just, so that's why taking no chances to slow it down or freeze it up. Next, it's just a next finished rest of it. Nothing much here. Yes, it's E6i7 update 1 and later, then next. Yeah, 2008. Okay, I'll just change the operating system, although not going to install. I'll just go for 64-bit. Universal drivers of that will be installed, but I'm not gonna actually put an operating system. If we start putting operating system based virtual machines here, then whatever performance we have, that's gonna be gone as well whenever we power them on. They're gonna consume all that, and the features that we're gonna be discussing, a lot of advanced features will come now. They work the same way whether you have an operating system inside or not. I'm just gonna 2016 64-bit. I'll just put it there, and it's version 18. Which is the hardware version of our virtual machine, and I'm gonna click next. We're gonna be talking about the customized hardware as well in the VM management topic, but here I'll just quickly go for 1024, and that is MB, or yeah, 1 GB, and hard disk, I'll just keep it thin provisioned. So whichever machine you go for, 1 GB thin provision, that's all we need to make sure and finish. So the second machine is getting created, and it's not going to take up our resources, but having some more machines would be a good idea. And well, there are 2 machines here, that's good. I'll go for one more quickly. And virtual machine. Next, create virtual machine, VM03. Next, now I know the drill. E6i2, yes. DS1. E6i7, update 1. Universal drivers of 2016 64-bit can be there. Next, 1 GB RAM. And hard disk thin provision for now, but obviously in production environment you would plan it, you would go for thick provision there for better performance, but you must have a lot of space there. So 2 more machines are here. Once they're there, now I'm going to go for E6i2 to talk about VApp, which is a very simple feature, just to group together, but it's obviously useful when you have a bunch, group of machines there with exactly the same software, or just belonging to one department or belonging to one branch or one team, however you want to group them under whatever category. So I'm going to right click on top of E6i2 here, and there's a new VApp. So resource pool we already created and checked out. Now what you will see here is that VApp is what? Just a grouping of the virtual machines. But now you will see that resource pool can also be configured inside a VApp, but obviously let's see it and then understand it why. So I'm going to click new VApp and create a new VApp or existing. Well, that's the only one. That's the first one we're trying to create here. So create a new VApp. I'm going to click next and enter VApp name. Suppose it's for marketing department. So marketing DEPD dash VApp. So other than that, I'm gonna click okay, select, and there's on .dc next. So you will see that, or you're seeing now the resource pool here as well. So we were able to separately create resource pool, but the same feature is here as well. And why would that be? Now it makes sense. Why? Because if you have suppose 4 machines here and they belong to marketing department, and not only that you want to group them together, but you also want to put the limitations and reservations of CPU and RAM for these machines. Now you want to do both things: group them together for maintenance purpose, as well as give them or assign for them the reservation and limitation of CPU and RAM. So you want to do both. So why should we then, in fact technically it would not be possible as well, that you create a resource pool for these machines and then you want to create a VApp separately, right? So either inside the resource pool where these machines are, you can create a VApp as well, or when you're creating a VApp, you can configure also resource pool for these machines. So these machines can be either in a resource pool. If you separately created a VApp and resource pool, they could either be in resource pool or in a VApp. But if you want to configure resource pool plus VApp for these virtual machines, so it's better to create a VApp that has a built-in resource pool inside it if you want to configure both features for a group of machines, right? So suppose you created a resource pool already, and then the boss says, oh, how about can we create a VApp for them as well now? Oh, well, obviously you can just one way is you can create a VApp. You can take out the machines from the old resource pool, then create a new VApp, configure the same resource pool setting here, and then add the machines here. Or suppose they were in the old resource pool already, you can create a VApp inside the resource pool as well. So it's in both ways you're achieving the same results, but there are different ways to do that. So I'm creating a VApp, and resource pool feature is there as well. That's what we need to know, which we discussed already. It does the same thing: shares reservation type limit. So I'm not gonna really change any settings here, but we know that VApp also has resource pool setting here. And click next. And then, well, that's it. It just says that, okay, you want to create a VApp. What is the name? Name is given. That's it. Finish. But after that, when we finish, we're going to add some machines inside the VApp. And then we're going to check some more features inside the VApp. So I'm going to click finish here to create a VApp. There you go. So resource pool is separately created. VApp is separately created. If resource pool has been configured for the same machine, then you don't need that resource pool. Well, for the same machines, you don't need. For any other, up to you. So once the marketing department VApp is created, I would want some machines to be placed inside. So what I can do is I can just drag VM01, just for example, and VM02. Wow, drag and drop they really improved it. Sometimes, well, in previous versions, when you do drag and drop, sometimes go right on top of it and it doesn't move there. It also happens. And so 2 machines are there. Well, I'll just put third as well, suppose. Okay, now 3 machines are part of the VApp. And I'm going to expand that now from here. So all 3 machines are there. Now what can we do with these machines? I'll right click this machine, which is inside of VApp now, and power it off. Oops, did I say no? Seriously. So all three machines are powered off. And I'm going to go to the VApp and right click on top of the VApp itself. Now we got a lot of options here, but we do see the power option there. So that was not there in resource pool. Obviously that's going to be here. And power on, but how do they power on? Do they power on all three together, or do they power on in order? So yes, they will power on, but how? So we can just check it out. Other than that, we'll be checking this out. But other than that, there's new virtual machine, there is new child VApp. You can create, just like child resource pool can be created, child VApp can be created as well. New resource pool, separate resource pool can be created inside, although the child VApp is already, the resource pool is already built into VApp, but still, okay, my kids. So yeah, separately you can create a resource pool as well. Then there is clone. You can simply clone the whole VApp with 3 virtual machines, and you can export the whole VApp with 3 virtual machines and import it somewhere else into another vCenter environment. Deploy. So that is export, that you can take out these machines in OVF format, and you can just import here as well. Deploy. This is import. Edit settings, then move to rename, edit nodes, tags, permissions, alarms, remove from inventory, delete from disk. Common options there, but before I power on, I just want to show you the options there. Do they start together, or do they start in order? So I'm just going to click that, edit settings here. Well, first of all, yes, you can just configure the resource pool here as well, and anytime during the start you did not configure, you can configure now. Start order. So here you can actually configure the start order, but startup delays are already there for 120 seconds. So if I select VM01, now you can see that there's group 1 written here, and there's group 2, group 3. If you add it, suppose there were 5 machines, suppose, so it would have been group 5, group 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So one machine is considered group 1, second machine group 2, third machine. So if I select this, now it says group 2. If I select this, now it's group 3, and they are all set up on. So power on, action is power on, and action power off. Delay is 120 seconds. So they're not going to start right away together. They're going to start in order, and you can change the order of the first machine or the second machine. Oh, this actually VM03 is actually more critical, or the most critical. So I would want to start this first, and I'll delay the others after this. So they won't start until this is fully started. So you can just do it that way as well. Delay. So startup delay is this. What about the shutdown delay? So do you want them shut down easily? Guest shutdown, suspend, none. So at what action, what kind of delay you want? So also continue with VMware tools ready. So this is just you can just change the order here. Now VM01 is group 1. If I go for group 3, I selected VM1, but I changed here the group from 1 to 3. So you can see that these VM1 and 3 are in group 3 now, and so first machine is whoever is the first group. So group 2 machine will start first after 120 seconds. Group 3, whatever number of machines are in group 3 will start. So obviously VM01 and VM03 will start together, but after 120 seconds of VM02 initiation, right? So, well, that's the order in which we can place, and we can just change the order anytime we want. So it is still selected. I'm just going to still again select group 1 here, so they are all separate. Otherwise, you can just put them all on group 1. So I can configure VM2, it's also in group 1. VM3, it's also in group 1. Now you can just start them all together, no delays. So this is just you can according to the priority you can go for grouping start order and power off order as well. Other than that, there's IP allocation, and that's just saying a VApp can obtain its network configuration through the OVF environment or a DHCP server. So if you say that, hey, yeah, all of your machines here should be getting IP from a DHCP server, so that's okay. Suppose you create a new machine, where does it get the IP from? All machines may have already received IP if they had an operating system. Would have as soon as they were created, they would have received an IP from our DHCP. We tested that on one machine already, so our network configuration works fine. And if I say OVF environment here, so one option is your virtual machines will get an IP from what IP? IPv4 from either our DHCP on Win01 or from OVF environment, which is provided to it from within the this VApp. And then IP protocol, you want to give static or static manual, static IP pool. Maybe there's a well, you can just set up a pool there, transient pool. So IP addresses are manually configured, no automatic allocation is performed. So well, this is static, and this is all static, and this is transient. But it just says that further configuration is required for this. One or more of the assigned networks do not have an IPv4 range configured for allocating IP addresses. So we would prefer to have it IP to receive from DHCP, obviously. So that's what it should be. Other than that, I'm just going to uncheck that, but these settings are here. If I go to details, well, that's just more information about what type of machines are there. Suppose they are marketing machines, but they are web servers, or there's a third-party software deployed there, so you can just put the information about that here in details. So start order, that's what we saw here, and group 1, 120 seconds, then 2, then 3, that's the start order by default, and we can change it as well. So that's all there is to it, that you have resource pool built into it, and you have, well, the VApp, the start order is there, and how you want to assign the IP addresses. Overall, that's what VApp does. I'm going to cancel out from here, and if I right click again and power on, so well, what we're expecting is that first VM01 should start and others should wait, then 2, then 3. And VM01 is on. Okay, and I'll refresh this browser here. Yeah, it's still VM1 is starting. Well, okay, I'll just put it on. It's just showing here the progress. Guys, give me a second. I'll pause the recording and mute. Give me just 2 minutes. I'm coming back. Resuming. Oh, what happened?
Getting an error. The available memory resource in the parent resource pool are insufficient for the operations.
Okay, so you know why this? Because if we go for, so this is
4 GB.
4 GB is
vSS
just to breathe, just to let the machines hypervisors breathe. So I have here. Okay, let me check my desktop memory here, on top of which I'm running this. And okay, I'm already on 1. I'm just fully using that already. Okay. What I can do quickly is I'm just giving it Win01 as 4 GB. It's just used for Active Directory, DNS, DHCP, and remote connection. Well, also SAN. But those do not require 4 GB. So I'll just put this Win01 only down, which is just giving me remote connection, and put its memory to 2 GB. So it's a lot of juggling for the memory. Even with 32 GB systems, it then reaches the top memory. Now if I take it to 1 GB, that would be brutal. 1024, and well, it's Active Directory. Active Directory also is kind of, so I'll just make it 2 GB. Power on.
Yeah, just to pause for a second. I mean, it looks like nowadays, I used to remember when it used to be 32, like years ago, as far as the memory requirements to have the vCenter and have all these hosts and all these virtual machines. Now we're needing more than the 32 gigs. 64 gigs seems to be,
yes,
I think, more of an accurate number.
Yeah, 64 is an average number now, definitely. They have really increased this. I have gone to other bigger community colleges and government colleges. I salute Microtrain and Netplus to be making available 32 GB machines. This is strange that colleges are not really investing on hardware. In bigger colleges that have the huge budgets they have, and I keep telling them for a few years now, give me 32 GB RAM, and they're like, what, why? So, but yes, you're right, 64 GB is the memory that we need. Otherwise we are juggling memory here and there. We'll go for this. But as far as the feature is concerned, if the memory is not allowing, normally what it will do is simply start the machine. That's what we needed to see. You can just change the order, and if you have, you have at least more memory than I have. And Sarfraz, you had also 32 GB?
Yep.
Okay, so you do have, obviously you all have more memory than I have, and no, but we have given 4 GB to our machine, right? So that's why.
That's right. So you want to power on ESS type 2 and give it more memory.
Yeah, so the thing is that if we go for E6i2, I'm just going to check my overall desktop memory so I should not freeze up the whole environment. But yeah, we can just increase it to 5 GB, 6i2, and it will take one machine up. And I've given a lot of memory to 12 GB there. Oh yeah, now it's 21 GB, it's down to 21 GB now. So overall, yes, I can give E6i2. I'll just shut down guest here and simply give it 6 GB. Oh, it should have been properly shut down. That was fast. Anyway, E6i2, I'll just try to give it 6208 and power on. The workstations also normally are bought for this, which go up to 200 GB, but latest ones cost like $2,000, $3,000 or $1,500. So I'll be pushing to get workstations. Okay, so while this is starting, the V app is not really some complicated stuff. It's pretty straightforward. Group 1, Group 2, Group 3, change the seconds and they will just power on according to that. So it's no big deal understanding what it really does. And you can try it anytime with those tools. What we can do also is, normally all the time we don't use E6i3, right? We're going to be using E6i3 when we have a lab like vMotion lab. We need 2 hypervisors for that. So whenever we need 2 extra hypervisors, then we can just start it and simply, do that. When we are doing a lab on 1 hypervisor, then we don't have to really keep all the machines started when they are not needed at all. So I'm just going to shut down E6i3 just to get our system, let our system breathe a little more. So in vMotion, yes, we're going to definitely start it. And DRS, HA, well, all cluster topics, we need that, so it will then remain started. For now, I've just right-clicked and power and shut down guest. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to go back here and log in. Come on, let me see. Eagle position 1, 2, 3. Dot shift 1, 2, 3. Okay. E6i2 is still starting on 6 GB, while E6i3 is shut down fully. So now E6i2 should get that kind of well, the needed memory from much needed memory from the underlying desktop. And E6i2 basically is taking longer time to start. That was one of the features in the 7.0 update 1, 2, 3 versions, that hypervisors and the VCSA will not take time to start. Well, that's not entirely true. It's taking as much time as 6.5 and 6.0. Okay. Well, this one dot needs to really connect, so it will check. Now, what we were talking about there was that what is the concept of VApp, what is the concept of resource pool, and then when do you use them together. Basically, you would go for VApp, and resource pool is built into it, so otherwise you can keep them separate. So it's up to you. If you know the concept well, that what do they do and when to use that, then you can just make your decisions easily after that. So we were talking about VApp. I'm just gonna go ahead and right click on the VApp here. Other than the edit settings, what we talked about, the rest we already you want to create a new virtual machine, new child VApp, if that kind of memory and CPU and storage you have in a big environment, so you can keep on creating more child VApp. So suppose their marketing department has critical machines on the parent VApp, and then there are some test machines that are exactly the replica of these critical production machines that are inside the child VApp. So it could be any other, or the tier 2 machines, like these are the web servers, and the other ones are the backend servers, databases, or just file providing file servers there, up to you. But you can create new child VApp, which also has built-in resource pool, or you can create it. So we talked about all the already how to import. Well, we're going to be doing this lab of import export, but what is the purpose? What are the other features that are there in a VApp? So, but the main feature would be you want to group them together for the maintenance purpose, to start the patching purpose, start, restart, shut down, right, together, plus the resource pool. Other than that, it's a pretty simple feature, and if we go for the others, then virtual machine management comes, and that is your day-to-day tasks that you might get tickets for. I'm going to take out the virtual machines from here, from the marketing VApp. I'll just drag it up and drop it on E6i2. This is very, very smooth, drag and drop. It's amazingly smooth, otherwise it's pain. Okay, so they are on the root of E6i2 hypervisor or E6i2 host, all three virtual machines, right? Now, I'm going to start to create another virtual machine, but we're going to go through the other options of creating a virtual machine, and especially what is a template, when do we use that. So I'm just going to right click on E6i2 again now, and there's a new virtual machine. Once we click the new virtual machine here, so, well, yeah, we use the first option, create a new virtual machine. But then what is deploy from template, clone an existing virtual machine, clone virtual machine to template, clone template to template, and convert template to virtual machine. So these are the options that we will be using from time to time, obviously. So new virtual machine we already know, but deploy from template. So obviously you must have a template machine. So what is a template machine? In fact, if I just click on top of that, it says here, this option guides you through the process of creating a virtual machine from a template. But what is a template machine? A template is a golden image of a virtual machine that lets you easily create ready for use virtual machines. So the main point is this: ready for use. So suppose the marketing department, there's a ticket from there that please create 6 virtual machines for us by Monday, thank you. And the sales department says please create 4 more servers for us with this requirement. So now when you create keep creating virtual machines for different usage, there are some basic requirements that have to be met in all the virtual machines, some compliance policies that have to be met in all virtual machines that you create, and then the specific requirements as well. So suppose your the company says that the template machine that we will create, or the golden image, so this machine should be normally the request will come for servers, right? So if it's 2016, 2012, 2019 Windows Server, or Linux, Red Hat servers, or whatever the company fleet management configurations are. So you would suppose it's a 2016 server, so it should be, it's a security hardening has to be done on that, where firewall should be suppose on, and the patches should be all done, that also security patches there, right? And then there is some softwares like the compression software, WinZip, or Adobe Reader, PDF software, right? So whatever are the requirements, then when the when the template clones from the template are created, then an antivirus is deployed, or an antivirus can be deployed just in the golden image, and it could be just the agent could be deployed in the golden image, and when the clone is created, then the antivirus agent can communicate with the central antivirus server, right? So template machine or golden image has to be created, and then, or so how would this be done? You would create a virtual machine, and you would know, okay, there are requirements for 2016, there are requirements for 2019 virtual servers, Windows Server, and then there are requirements of Red Hat as well, so and Ubuntu or whichever. So if the company allows that, okay, whenever you create, these machines should be there. So you would create a template for this, a template for this, a template for this. And if it is SCCM, System Center Configuration Manager, if you've heard about it, or you know, Endpoint Manager from in the cloud in Microsoft 365. So what happens is that software get deployed separately, and the image gets deployed separately. So it's pretty cool, but it's complex as well. Here you would just install 3 images if there are difference here of operating systems, or some basic difference there. Once this is installed, you would just do the security hardening, the patches there, WinZip, and whatever software you need. Once you have done all that in a regular virtual machine, then you need to run sysprep. What's the purpose of that? Sysprep gives unique SIDs, to which is security identifier, which is alphanumeric address. So 8A C9, well, etc., 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 right? So it would be that unique SIDs or security identifiers would be given to each clone that gets created. Otherwise, they would be they're exactly copy anyway. They're clones, right? Exact copy of the template machine. So when the clone gets created, now before that clone gets created, you need to make sure all this is done. Then you shut this machine down with sysprep. When you do that, sysprep makes every clone unique by giving it a unique SID, right? If there are two clones and they have the same security identifiers, they can't come on the network, or they won't be able to communicate especially they cannot join the domain. So once the template has been created properly with these steps, and it has been shut down forever with sysprep, then you can convert this regular VMware virtual machine into a template, which is so convert template to clone virtual machine to template. So clone an existing virtual machine, deploy from template. So this is clone virtual machine to template. Now what is this option? Well, we need to discuss all these options, and then we're gonna try to do the labs as well. So clone virtual machine to template means that create a copy of this regular virtual machine, and that copy will be a template. So it's not exactly converting a machine to a template, it's making another copy of that, and that copy is actually a template, right? So that is this option, clone virtual machine template. So when we have a working machine that we have done all the work properly, we have tested it properly, then we can use this option. Okay, we're ready to create a template of this virtual machine. Okay, so it clone virtual machine, so it does not exactly convert this one, it makes another copy, and this machine is still separately available, whatever you want to do with it. Then clone an existing virtual machine. This above option is just about, it has nothing to do with templates. This is, you have a virtual machine, you want to clone it, that's it. So maybe you want to clone it and keep that copy somewhere as a backup, and so then you can just go for clone an existing virtual machine. But these two, when you clone, they would both have the same SIDs, right? Unless you shut down this machine with sysprep, or just don't introduce the two same copies in the same environment. Yes, that clone can be exported, or just put it in USB and take it to some other environment, and in another vCenter, and just import it there. Or just first clone it, then export it, and then import it somewhere else, but don't introduce it in the same environment, because SIDs are same, then you can't really run them on the same network. Suppose you say that, okay, I've made a clone of that, I'll just run sysprep on top of this. No, sysprep will really break everything inside. It will break the software, the apps here, and the operating system, and you will have to reinstall the whole thing again. For a working machine, you can't do that. You can shut it down with sysprep, and then keep it shut down, the template, and create clones out of that. But on a running machine, if you do that, I was gonna say try it, but no, don't try it. So this record has been broken by two of my students in last 10 years. We were doing MCSA, and I was showing them how to create a template machine in VMware. So I told them, don't do it on your laptop, but the virtual machine and the laptop operating system looks like the same. They ran it on their actual laptop, so everything got broken and they had to reinstall the whole thing. Anyway, so here, this option, clone an existing virtual machine, this is just a copy of that and keep it somewhere else, not in the same environment. Deploy from template, yeah, you want to create a clone of template. Once you have created a template, yes, now you can deploy from it a clone, right? And this we talked about already, clone template to template. So suppose the administrator of another branch came here, they also have their VMware environment, and you've really worked hard on your template, and you tell that, okay, this much has all been done. So the administrator says, hey, can you give a copy of that to me, and I don't have to work hard as you did, thank you very much. I have friends up there, and you will say, oh, sure, why not? So anyway, the thing is that you can just go for clone template to template, and or just take a backup of this template. If something goes wrong with this one, you have a backup. There's another copy of a template is there, or just give it to somebody and they can take it and import it in their environment. Convert template to virtual machine. So that's very important. Why do we need that? Because you suppose you configured all this in a golden image, and you want now after 6 months, obviously there are so many patches that arrived in 6 months, so many changes happened to all these software as well. Newer versions of these software, more secure versions of these software with better features are there, so you can't have your template configured with older configurations, especially older patches. So you can, so this is a template, right? This template, you want to update that, so you will simply take on the weekend, you will just simply convert this machine, this very machine, into this template machine into a regular machine. So this option converts a template into a regular machine. It does not make another copy and then make it a regular machine. It simply converts this very template machine. Once it is this same machine is converted, you update everything here, patches, WinZip, PDF, and then you go back to this option, clone virtual machine to template. So this very machine where that was a template was converted into a regular machine. Then when you go for the other option, you simply make a copy of this machine that becomes a template, right? So that's how it goes. And after 6 months or maybe monthly, if you want to put some patches there, up to you, whatever your compliance policy is. You want to update that, convert it to a regular machine, do all the updates, and then clone virtual machine back to template again. While you will have this virtual machine still there, you can just delete it later, and that template will be used. So these are all the options for different scenarios and purposes. We use these options. I'll just take a screenshot of that and put it here. Okay, Control C, and so that was the discussion, but let's do the labs now. For virtual machine management, some discussion there. Now I'm still on this option, and deploy from template, we can't do that because we don't have a template to deploy from or make a clone from. What is the other option? Clone an existing virtual machine. So this option guides you through creating a copy of an existing virtual machine. We know the precautions here. Same SID can create problems, so obviously you can't really start the same machine. So even if you change the IP and name there, the SID has to be changed as well, made unique, and sysprep for that is run. So better write it somewhere else or just take a backup of that machine. So this is option, clone virtual machine to template. Now this option guides you through creating a copy of an existing virtual machine and making it a template. So yes, we want to make actually a template now. A template is a golden image of a virtual machine that allows you to easily create ready for use virtual machines. Obviously you would want to not waste time installing all the software again and again on whatever number of virtual machines were ordered. So now I'm just going to select this option of clone virtual machine to template and click next. So it's gonna ask that, okay, you got some virtual machines here, which virtual machines template you want to create out of virtual machine. So we're pretending that, okay, we did all that long list of tasks there and did the security hardening. For the security hardening, normally, you know, it's not just turning on firewall, but there are so many services that are started that can be stopped in Windows. There's so many options of browser that can be blocked as well. I was in one of the banks here, and the security hardening, we used to have a script. There was a long script that used to run, and it would just go through every nick and corner of the Windows, new Windows that is being deployed, and block a lot of stuff there. Then there was a script to cross-check if these things are done and not done. Then it would recommend, okay, go there and do this. So that was great by developers there. So here I'm gonna go for expanding, and I think my VM0, actually none of my machine has an operating system, but I'll go for VM01 here, and pretending it was properly installed, it was properly created as a template machine, and then it was shut down with sysprep forever, right? So like after you shut down with sysprep, when I say shut down with sysprep, okay, I keep saying that, right? So if I right click on my laptop Windows 10, okay, don't try this. I'm just showing that. So right click, run, and then I type sysprep sysprep, and it opens. So here you can see C drive, Windows, System 32, sysprep, and then if I double click that, normally when we are finally shutting down, we click generalize and we simply shut down. Okay, so that's the most dangerous thing I've done on my laptop. I'm just going to cancel out from here. But this is how...
That's suspense. That's suspense.
That's a... Yeah.
I said the suspense. There's a lot of suspense.
Oh yeah, so why don't I just try it, right? No, guys, you can go for a virtual, or you want to see how it's all done. Yeah, there are some videos of VCSA I can just share with you if you put it on WhatsApp. Hey, can you share the VCSA? And well, so how to create a template, and then at the end just shut down sysprep, and don't run it on your friends' machines as well. Hey, I'm just testing. Okay, so but
in short, Amir, you got to run the sysprep in the virtual machine, right?
Yes, I'm just showing that where it is located, and what are the final options that we select. But after that, obviously, when we press OK, it should be pressed OK on that, inside that virtual machine, which is about to become a template.
Okay.
Cool. So we used to do that at the start of every MCSA course, 70, all those 70s there, 6, 40, 41, 42. So, well, that's what you're supposed to do when you've done all that. You've finally shut down with sysprep. Then what we're doing now, that's what we do. So I'm selecting this. Suppose this is shut down permanently with sysprep, and now I'm gonna go for next. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna click next here, and then it just asks that, okay, you wanna name this template? Okay. So it's VM01-template or whatever name you want to give. So, and where do you want to create that? So it's stored EC, and it doesn't expand further than this. So it's just data center, so it's a compute. I'm going to click next. And then, yes, whichever host. In production environment, normally we just call it host or E6i or hypervisor. It's the same thing. So E6i 2 or host, and compatibility is okay. So far so good. Next. And then I just keep S1 there right now. Later I'll just figure out, okay, what went wrong. I think 2 is where my machine is, the critical, and 0 is also available as a separate. So anyway, I'm going for DS1 and click next. Well, click finish to start. Okay, so that's gonna start creation of a template machine, and I'll click finish. Well, it will end fast, and it ended already because there was nothing inside. But if you did it on a operating system based machine, then it's gonna take some time to get created. So it ended for me. My best friend recent tasks told me that it is completed, and we should keep our eyes on the recent tasks always, what's going on. Even some other admin is doing something, that will come in the recent tasks as well, and you would know, oh, somebody's doing something, oh, he or she's doing this, okay. Okay, so where's the template? It's going to not show here. If it's not a normal virtual machine, if it's a template, it's going to show up here on this area. And you know, if I put my mouse over here without clicking, it should just pop up what it is, but it's Vms and Templates. This section is called Vms and Templates, and I think they need to still work on it. They need to put that pop up here. I'm going to click this, and now I see my template machine here. So the good thing with the template machine is that we cannot power it on, which is good. Right click and there is no power button, right? Normally after creating a template machine, I ask the students, okay, go ahead and quickly power it on, and they keep on searching until somebody said, oh, we can't power it on. So then I say, okay, that's the point. So well, that's very good. In a training environment, in the VMware workstation, yes, you can power on a template machine as well, but here in ESXi, in the hypervisors, you can't, and this is very good. You want to work on it, convert it back to a virtual machine, and then work on it, but you can't just power it on. Okay, so the template machine is created, and I clicked on it, and if I right click on the template machine here, so there are some options now. Yep. Okay. So yeah, there are some sounds coming from your mics, guys. If you could mute your mics, thank you. There's new VM from this template. Obviously, you want to go for a new VM from the template. It's that's what we would want to do. Convert to virtual machine. Now this is only when you are ready to update this particular template itself with newer patches, newer software, and clone to template. Obviously, if you want to take a backup of that or give it to someone as a template, and clone to library. Now library is content library, or it's just the file server service inside the vCenter environment. So whenever you see the word library, we're going to create that. It's a pretty simple thing. You can just put a shared folder of a Linux machine or a Windows machine and offer it as a library link. So when you clone to library, it saves it on either a Linux shared folder or in a Windows shared folder or on a data store. So it's like a library link, or it's a file server link. Whenever you see the word library there, we're going to do that small lab there. So template. What other is the thing is there? Move to folder, rename, tag, and custom add permission, alarms, remove from inventory, vSAN. Well, that is a big upcoming topic. Delete from this, remove it. So these are normal other options there. So new VM from template, right? So this is what we need to do. Suppose you're creating a clone now. So from a template, I'm just gonna start new VM from template. So I'll click that. Excuse me. And so yeah, the virtual machine name. I already have VM123, so I'll go for VM04. Now this machine may not get created, or it will give you an error. Why? Because we're going to explore some more custom options there that it's going to provide us. And since it does not have an operating system, or even if it does have an operating system, there are some requirements that we may not be able to meet here in this wizard. But we need to explore all the features to understand what does this whole wizard does offer. Okay, so this is the copy or clone from a virtual machine that we're about to create, and it's on Tor DC. I'm going to click next here, and yes, it's going to be on ESXi2, so no problems here. Next. Yeah, on DS1. I'm just I keep choosing DS1. It's just empty machine, so they're not taking any space there, not much. So I'm going to click next here. Now it shows customize operating system, customize this virtual machine's hardware, power on virtual machine after creation. Okay, so when I select customize the operating system, on the left side you can see that one more option pops up, right? So customize the guest operating system. If I go for customize this virtual machine's hardware, then another option pops up here as well. And the third option is just power on the machine when it is created. So I'll just select all three options, although during the creation, normally with an empty virtual machine or machine configured without VMware tools, or when you see all the requirements, you might know that, or then that why there would be an error at the end. So I'm going to select all three options to explore what is customized guest OS, what are the features there, what are the questions they ask, and customized hardware, what are the questions they ask there. Once we're knowledgeable, obviously, then you can all play with it, those options again and again. So I'm going to click next here after selecting all three options. Customize the guest OS to prevent conflicts when you deploy the virtual machine. And there is that operating system is 2008, and there is no override written here, and it's actually not showing that clickable button here. You know what? I created a template of a machine that has a Windows 2008 operating system selected there. If I select 2016, if I had created, guys, what I'm gonna do is, I wanted to click this override, right? But maybe because of the older operating system, it's not offering that. If I click next further, does it take me to the customize? No. I wanted to show you another option. I'm going to go back here, and I should be able to click this. I'll cancel out from here. I'll go for VM3, where I attach 2016 as the operating system, although the operating system is not inside. I'm going to right click here. I'll create, I'm going to create a quick template out of this, because these are all empty machines, so I will be able to create I'm in the Vms and Templates. Sorry, I'll go for this option here, and right click. I'll create a new virtual machine with 2016 there. Clone virtual machine to template. I'll just create another template and check it out if I am offered the override option. VM03 next. VM03-template. Next. V6I2 next. DS1 next. Yeah, so please create a template, which it creates right away. And so I'll go for the VMs and Templates section here, and yes, now my VM03 template is there. I'm going to create a clone out of this now. Clone to VM03 template, and new VM from this template. This was the option. I was just creating a normal machine out of this template. Okay, VM04 I was about to create, but I was not able to. Just give it that name again. Next. V6I2 next. DS1 next. Customize hardware. Well, I'll just select now customize hardware and next. Really? Okay. So there's a huge load of options that are not displaying. Customize the customers to prevent conflicts when you deploy the virtual machine. That was supposed to be clickable, but it's not. Sarfraz, you have a machine with operating system inside? If you're...
Yes, I have, but it's not showing me the override option again.
It is?
I directly, it's not showing me.
Oh, not? Okay. So, while you have selected the operating system based machine, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, that could be either a bug or some requirement we're not, and I think you installed...
But it gives me a funny error. It gives me a funny error that, like when I do it, see, I'm creating a virtual machine template I created from SSI1. when I'm deploying to ESSi2, it's giving me device CD DVD drive 1 uses backup data store 1, software Windows Server 2008 Iran, which is not accessible.
Oh yes, yes. That error is about if your virtual machine had a ISO attached to it. That ISO has to be removed. If you remove that, it's not if, I think we should remove it, because in vMotion it will not let you migrate the machine if an ISO is mapped to the DVD. So if I right click here, suppose to any virtual machine, and go to edit settings, I'm just showing you where to go to attach it or detach it. There's a CD DVD here. So that's that CD DVD is actually attached to a data store. So it should not be. And if you put it back to device and also uncheck the connect button, so then it should detect that, okay, ISO is not attached to this, and it would let you do a lot of tasks.
Okay, let me try this now. Okay.
So I've cancelled out from here, guys, and I'm going to go back to this VM03 template where I was, because that customize option, that shows a long list of more, maybe 9 or 10 more options there, features there, actually options, sorry. So I'm going to go for VM04 again, and next there's something else they need. So the virtual machine with an operating system and with VMware tools installed, it's still not showing the override button there. So E6i2, yeah. Okay, DS0, I'll go for that. That should not matter at all. I customize, really? Okay, no. And I'll go for customized hardware and power on, because I'm still creating just a clone of another machine. But customized operating system, normally it does not give you some new, I mean, like options that unheard of options. It just asks you, do you have the key for the operating system? Do you want to put here? Do you want to run a sysprep on this clone? It asks you that. Some common options that if you were deploying an operating system in your company, the questions it would ask, okay, what keyboard, what time zone, do you want to give a naming convention to this machine? So all those kind of options that when you deploy an operating system. So it's not like unheard of options, but just wanted to show you actually how it looks like there. But these are the options that I told you, and then I'll have to figure it out as well, that why it did not show us. So customize operating system.
I just detached the data, what do you call the ISO, and I'm trying it again. I'm creating the template again. If it shows up, I'll share my screen.
Okay, that would be great.
Yeah.
But you're checking the ISO one.
Yeah, the ISO. I removed the ISO. And I'm running sysprep again and packing the machine.
But it has the operating system already there.
Yeah. 2016.
Oh yeah, cool.
So give it just let's powering on. Give it a moment.
Oh, powering on?
Yeah, because I'm going to run the sysprep again, right?
No, your my machines are actually. Oh, you're creating a template again now, right?
Yeah, okay. I created the template completely.
Okay. And
you continue on. Once it comes on, I'll let you know.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
So here, customize operating system, and if I click next, so yeah, override option is not there, and normally it creates a file, and that file, if you have ever heard of answer file before, in SCCM, or there was another feature in Windows, which is called WDS, Windows Deployment Services, and you would use a another tool, free tool called MDT. So what answer file does is that if you have empty machines there, and you have either SCCM, System Center Configuration Manager, that deploys operating systems images over the network to empty machines, and the image gets deployed with maybe Windows 10, Windows 8, and it deploys there on an empty machine. When it restarts, it's just a ready-made, it's a working Windows 10 machine with all the software, right? So the thing is that answer file is that file which does not answer file makes the whole installation unattended or silent installation, which means that when the Windows was deployed and it would ask, hey, what is the key, what is the time zone, what is the name, who's authorized user, right? So all this information during the installation it needs. So all those answers are given with an answer file, which is just a XML file or a TXT file. So it becomes a silent installation then. In MCSA we used to do the silent installation as well. That would take full 4 hours to configure it. The answer file itself, creating that is another big challenge. We spend like 2-3 hours just configuring the answer file. Anyway, so these kind of questions it asks that, hey, you have an answer file already that would answer all the questions where Windows stops, and it will not stop then. It will just silently install if it gets all the input from a file instead of a user putting those information there, So it just simply asks that if you have an answer file there in the override section, which I need to check why it's not, but let's see. So if I go next here, well, customize hardware, this is for this particular virtual machine. Now if you have created a template that has 2 GB RAM or 16 GB RAM, but actual virtual machine needs 32 GB RAM or 64 GB RAM or 128 GB RAM. So this is a good option that when you're creating at that time, you define, okay, for this particular clone, I actually need a much better hardware, much different hardware. So this is a very good customizing virtual hardware option there. When you're creating a clone, you can customize it right away instead of creating it fully and then changing all the options in a shutdown clone. During the creation, you can change the hardware. So it for now, whatever the template has, I gave 1 GB RAM and hard disk was thin provisioned, so it has it is supposed to have those options. Shares, yeah, we talked about that. Oh, it's not showing thick or thin here, but it will simply follow, well, same as source type. Yeah, it's simply following what I gave there for the template. And you can add new devices like new network card there, new disk here as well during that creation of the clone. And so we have talked about all these options when we were creating the first virtual machine. Well, the only good thing is that you can further customize the whole operating system. What do you have a enterprise Windows 10 or Windows 2016 data center key, or you have a standard key, or you want to change the naming convention name of the operating system? So whatever questions that come when you're installing a Windows server, those questions you can customize here, which I'm not able to show now, but I'm telling you that it's nothing unheard of, but yeah, the common operating system deployment options that you can customize right here instead of when it is deployed, then you customize. So it's not a very advanced but option of deploying clones. You can still use third-party software for that, have some scripts ready, and when the whole machine is done. But it does give a lot of options to customize a new clone out of a template machine. So customized hardware is there. I'm not changing anything here, but we get the idea that, okay, so yeah, we changed the hardware. We understand that. And next, that's it. So when you create a clone, this is the process of creating a clone from a template. I click finish. So I didn't go through the customized hardware. Normally there, when I choose some options, one of the options actually, one or two of the options, they give me error. But right now, we didn't go that way, so it just created a clone right away. VM04, and then yes, at the end I said power it on, so it powered it on as well. With an operating system, obviously, when you go through the exact same procedure, it just creates a clone for you, and you can just check extra that, okay, after creating a clone, is the operating system intact? Whatever applications you deployed before converting it to a template, are those applications intact, working fine, everything is okay? This whole process did not break anything. Yeah. No, this whole process did not break anything.
Amir, I trying to clone again. I mean the template again. It's not showing me the option.
Okay, then I'll
The override option.
Okay, then I'll check that. Maybe update 1 does not have that, and update there are more updates there that are available for partners, like the more expensive level of partners of VMware. But if I get my hands on the update 2 of VCSA, maybe it's there. I'll have to now check with documentation of VMware and the support as well, why that option is not showing. But thank you for testing it.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so here we were talking about, first of all, the template and how to create a template. What are the processes that we should go for? What are the precautions we should take when we're creating a golden image and the sys prep? We talked about that too. And if anyone needs extra video for that, how to really create a template machine, what I did was I just created it inside the VMware workstation. The Windows 2016 or 2012 template machine with sysprep at the end. So once that is done, you create a template. Now we have gone through that option. So if I right click here on the template, first of all I went for new VM from template, and then we saw all the options. So if you've been, obviously you've been working in the IT, so not a very big deal. It's not something totally new concept. Yeah, you create clones out of templates, you create templates out of machines, but some precautions we discussed. Other than that, convert to a virtual machine. This is when you are upgrading a template after a few months or every month, whatever the compliance policies say in your company. So new VM from this template is that it's going to totally convert this template into a virtual machine and convert this one convert to virtual machine, and clone to template would just make a copy of the template. So I'm gonna now go for the second option, which is convert to virtual machine. Well, normally that's all there is to the VM management. Other than that, you can take snapshots there. I'm just going to go for convert template to virtual machine here, and it's not a long wizard as well. It simply asks that wherever it is already on the storage, whichever storage and memory and CPU it's using, it's gonna just convert on top of that. If I click finish here, so this VM03, which was a template, the name is still template, but it's no longer a template now. Template icon is different than a regular virtual machine icon. So it's just 3 boxes here, and here it's just turn over one corner, bend. So this is the icon for template. So it has been converted into a regular virtual machine that we can just power on, and then obviously you can make all the deploy more patches there and check out what else is wrong, and then you can simply right click here. Then you can just convert it to a template by the process. That's I have to go to the hosts and clusters. This is the host and cluster section where I can, once you are done with all that, so we have already talked about this, then you can E6i2 right click here and then go for this fourth option, clone virtual machine to template again. So that's what we did first, and then we converted it back to a regular virtual machine, and we created a clone out of that as well. If I go to our virtual machine itself and right click on top of that, so there are those other option, remote console, migrate. So remote console, obviously you're just connected to that machine. The first time when we were creating the machine, we used some of these options. Fault tolerance is still an upcoming feature in the cluster when we create a cluster, and VM policies are storage policies there that we're going to be talking about, and it also shows, suppose you have a storage that is on data store that is on top of a SSD, and then you have a data store that is on top of a local disk-based data store, or it is on top of a LAN-based data store, or on top of a better SSD or slower SSD. So you can create some policies that for that put the virtual machine on that storage which is faster and on and LAN based storage. So then template, and this virtual machine can also be converted to a template, or it could be exported, right? So about export or Ovf templates, we needed to actually check that out as well as a VM management. So whatever you do to maintain or run virtual machines, that all comes inside the virtual machine management. So there, well, other than that, there is OVF as well. Although first I'm going to go through the features, but then what is OVF? That is coming so much. This name is popping up again and again. So we're going to talk about that right after going through the features. So template and convert to template. So yes, that's pretty simple option. This machine you want to convert template instead of. So this is the option other than, like before I was saying, E6i2, if we go there and new virtual machine, and so it's gonna make a copy, another copy, and then make that copy a template. So first it will make a copy of this machine, and then that copy will be converted into template. So that was the option. But if you go right on top of the machine, then you can actually convert this very machine to a template as well. That's so just like you can convert it back to a virtual machine, a template. A machine can be directly converted to a template as well. Other than that, compatibility, this option is normally used when you have upgraded. Suppose you have upgraded from 6.7 to 7.0, or maybe there's a newer version, 7.2. So when you have upgraded, it just tells you that, okay, so this machine belongs to an older VCSA version 7.0, and you currently have 7.1 suppose, or 7.2 suppose. So it's going to tell you that upgrade VM compatibility. Or this virtual machine is actually from 6.7. So you upgrade the whole environment from 6.7 to 7.0. But the virtual machine level upgrade you can do from here, from the compatibility section. Export system logs, so all the system log files that you want to export. If I click that system logs here, so then it says select all. So this option is used to troubleshoot unresponsive virtual machines and will suspend or crash the VM. If you are unsure whether the VM is responsive or not, see the knowledge base article, this one, for guidance. Proceed with caution. So it's unresponsive. It's not really, you're clicking and it's just frozen. So in that case, it can export. So obviously you would try to make a copy of that, or maybe you were already taking a backup and you want to extract all the information from this machine. So it says, it's just warning that it could make the machine crash. So suppose the machine was powered on, and although management wise I'm not able to click anything, but some users are connected and they're saying that, yeah, I'm able to open close files. So you would wait for those users to finish their work, and in the evening then you could just send an email, okay, maintenance window for this, or it's just a break fix we need to do on this machine. If the users are also disconnected, then obviously you can just go ahead and let this machine be suspended, crash, or shut down the machine then, right? But then it will export all the log files, and you might investigate the reason for that, what happened to this machine. I'm going to right click on this, on any one random machine here. So export log, and then edit settings. If I go to edit settings, there's a lot of settings there which we have talked when we were creating a virtual machine as well, and VM options that we've talked about already. So we spent quite some time on talking about this when we were creating the virtual machine. If I right click again, then move to folder, it's supposed to really let us see the destinations as well. For now it's not. Rename, edit nodes, you want to put some description, tag and custom attributes, assign tag. Suppose I go for assign tag here, and then add tag, right? So I right clicked on the machine, I went for assign tag nearly at the bottom, and add tag. So here I could just go for sales deep department VM1, right? And then just giving an example that you just can add more description for this virtual machine, like SQL database inside, right? So you can just give any kind of description there. And category, you can just click the create new category. There was a create category there, and category name would be maybe critical VMs, and then business critical VMs, suppose. So you can keep on creating categories and then put some tags there as well, that okay, this machine belongs to that department, it's actually confidential data is there, or more, it's more sensitive and more critical for the business. You want to put one tag there, one type of information there, or multiple tags, you can do that. And associable object types, folder, data stored, distributed switch, is it associated to some other object? Is it using some of those objects? Is it not using some of those objects? So it's connected to some other objects or not. So that is uncheck, check, whatever you want. And click create. Now it shows here critical VMs in the category of critical VMs. So that's the tag. And I'll click create again. So it's just you're adding information, classifying this machine to be belonging to whom and what kind of software inside, if you want to give that kind of detail, and is it critical or not, or as much detail you want to give, right? And if I select that and I'll click assign, so the machine has been tagged, which is just adding more information about that. If I right click again, so other than add tag or remove tag, edit notes, which is notes here as well, and add permission. If I click the add permission here, so it's domain, it belongs to this vSphere.local, and role, administrator role, with the current logged in user, what are the permission? So I'm logged in obviously from administrator, and this is my permission here. Propagate to children, well, this is just a virtual machine there, but you want to add someone else as well, and whatever role you want to give, well, I was not able to actually attach it to my Active Directory, but if I have another user here, obviously this is the user administrator. I just typed it so I could show you how it looks like. So that's how the users will pop up here. And if you want to go for some Active Directory users there, so if the Active Directory is added there, the last class, the way we added there, so you can select the Active Directory and then select any user and select whatever role. Obviously it's a virtual machine, you right click, right? So you would want to look for some virtual machine related, so virtual machine power user. So this guy, whoever, suppose some other guy other than administrator, will have just this kind of role on this particular machine, not other machines, right? So this is the set of permissions you can give according by choosing the domain from which the user belongs to. I'm going to cancel out from here. And alarms, so there's alarms here, and if I go for new alarm definition here, so I'll click the new alarm definition, and there alarm name, we can just go for if the CPU threshold, suppose threshold, and I'll Control A, Control C, and put that same description by clicking inside description and Control V to paste that. And target type is virtual machine, obviously. So CPU threshold, or maybe memory, or maybe disk or network, whatever. And next, and then select. So if select a trigger, what is the trigger? VM CPU ready time, VM CPU usage, memory usage, network usage, CPU usage, and it goes on, disk usage, fault tolerance, DRS. So whatever tasks, actions are going on, for what action on this machine you want an alert to be sent to you. So if I go for VM CPU usage, and then select an operator here. So it's above, and then, well, if it is above 75% for, well, if it's above 75% for 10 minutes or 5 minutes, up to you what you want to put there. And what is the severity level for that? Give me a warning first of all. And you can create another alarm that can go for, if it is 90%, then it's critical, or 85% or 85%, right? So it would be critical. Send email notifications. Obviously you have to attach your Exchange server or messaging server credentials there, and connectivity. So admin is, I'm just putting some email, administrator at vSuperior.com. Suppose that's the email. Otherwise, normally you would put a proper email there. Snmp Traps, if you're going for monitoring and you want some Snmp Traps sent to a SNMP source over the network, or you want to run some script if this happens or trigger happens. Add advanced actions. Then there are advanced actions there as well. Oh, okay. I just selected and that was the advanced option here. And migrate VM. Oh, if it goes more than 75%, you want to migrate it away from this hypervisor, well, to whichever. Suppose I go for migrate VM. Then it says that, okay, which hypervisor you think it should go to, if in case the CPU goes up 75%, more than 75%. So you want to migrate to ESXi2. Now this is something that you're putting there. At that time, you know, we would not know that if ESXi2 is in a better position as well. Maybe it's overall memory of the CPU, you know, that ESXi2 hypervisor may be already on 80%. You move this machine because of this alert, and it the performance degrades even further for this machine, unless you know that it's a backup server, it's just empty basically, and we're exactly for this situation we have put that server that any critical machine can be migrated. So yeah, you can just put that action as well. Normally DRS does that automatically if you have DRS. It's an expensive license, so not all companies would have DRS. I'm gonna cancel from here, but it just tells us that, oh, whatever action you perform, so it just asks for further information about that action. So you want to do anything, suspend, shut down, reboot the machine if the CPU goes more than 75%. Well, one option would be migrate, but also you should be on top of this, that you should know that where you're telling it to migrate at that time, is it gonna be a good idea? So I'm gonna click remove the advanced option, but we see that it shows you what actions you can perform if this alert, if this event happens, first of all, right? And then there is add another rule. So suppose the first alert was this 75%, if it goes up, then just give me a warning, and then I can add another rule that actually says if it goes then 80%, 85%, then make it critical, and maybe you can do some advanced some of the advanced actions. Well, the only viable seems like the migration one, or duplicate this rule and then change that rule as well. Suppose so I click the add another rule here, that just simply shows me again the same option. Ooh, I just closed the whole thing. Seriously, what's wrong with me? Okay, so anyway, and CPU threshold, control A, control C, and then control V. Virtual machine next. Then I went for CPU usage. Then I went for trigger is above. Then I went for 75 and for 10 minutes. And severity is warning, but do send me some warning, right? And then email, and you want to repeat it. You can keep on sending that warning as well. They say that I have to put some information. Okay, so I'm gonna just go ahead with this information, and you can just duplicate this rule exactly with the setting, and then do some slight changes if you want. Next, and then it asks for its reset rule 1. So if the warning or critical condition states are no longer met, then reset the alarm to normal. Do you want an email sent at that time as well that, okay, it's less than 75% now, so it's okay now? So that's a good thing, that if it can also tell you that, but you're just receiving a lot of emails then, and you have to keep an eye on those emails. Otherwise, basically, that's going to overwhelm, and if you stop really looking at those emails because they're overwhelming, then that's going to be even worse, that you're not looking at them, right? So sometimes the trend also tells you that, okay, it's going to more than 35% for too long, too many times. I've received so many emails now. So anyway, reset, yes, reset it and let me know as well at that time. And I'm gonna click next. So this is the whole alarm that gets created. Alarm rules, reset rules. So these are the two, and enable alarm. I'll click create here, and the recent task shows completed. So if I right click on the machine, then remove from inventory would just remove it from this inventory. This is all inventory of stuff, and delete from disk would be a better idea than remove from inventory. It will still be on the storage, but it will not show here, and you can just add it again to the inventory. But here, delete from disk, if you want to really get rid of it, then it should not take over the storage as well. So that's a better option to get rid of a machine. And then the vSAN, this is an upcoming big topic. So when that comes, fault tolerance and vSAN is what we're going to discuss. We're going to do the labs later. So these are typical options of one virtual machines. There's snapshots on top here, and that's just take snapshot. If I just click the take snapshot here, it gives the time, day and time. You can just change the name as well, or give more description. And other than that, I'll click the create, include virtual machines memory, quizzes, guest file system, requires VM tools. I'm going to click create here. So there's a snapshot created. Now this is on data store, DS tool on 2. So that would be, the snapshot would be created here, right? So if I click inside the DS2 on 2, where I just created a snapshot, so I'm in the storage area. First of all, it took me the storage area, then there's DS2 on 2, right? And if I right click on DS2 on 2, and there's a browse files. So inside this is, yes, VM01 is living inside. If I go further inside VM01, so this is a snapshot file that got created for this virtual machine. Other than that, there's NVRAM, there's VMDK, VMSD, and VMX there, and log file. LCK file normally is for when the machine is connected with something, so it considered as a LCK log file. So you can see that the snapshot is vmsn.vmsn, which is VM snapshot. So that's where it is, and well, that's what I'm going to show you here when we take a snapshot. I'm going to go back here, and if I go to the snapshot again, there's a manage snapshots as well, or revert. So if I go to manage snapshots, so there's a revert, there's a edit, delete all, and you can just take further snapshots as well, right? So, well, that's all the options there. If I click the take snapshot again and create, so now it creates under that another snapshot. So the previous configuration, previous snapshot is also there, and this snapshot is also there. Okay guys, so let's take a break and come back and continue with our topics. So I'll just So we start 525 and 425. Break. US 425. Canada 535. So we see our configuration. So we created a few machines there. We created template machine and discussed all the features and options and precautions there. Now let's also go for the Oef import and export. There, if I just right click this machine here, so deploy OVF, there's a template, and then there's an export Ovf template. So why would we use this? So an export, you want to just export the virtual machine to be taken somewhere else on some other environment, or you want to back it up. Although backup softwares are there separately available that back up the virtual machines, you just want to export this. So there's export OVF, or open virtualization format, OVF. So if I click that OVF here, and folder format folder of files, OVF there, and annotation, you want to just give some name, maybe exporting VM. Then there are some advanced options there, it's showing, and if I click that enable advanced options, so it says includes BIOS, UUID, universal unique ID, include MAC address, include extra configuration. So okay, here why would you want to include universal unique ID or MAC addresses of the machine and extra configuration? So suppose the virtual machine that you're about to export, and that virtual machine should keep its information from this environment here, then you can just select these options. Otherwise, normally when if you're exporting this machine and the purpose is to import it in some other VCSA environment, so there it will get its MAC address from there. MAC address normally are given to the virtual machines when they're created by the hypervisors. So it can get all this information from the other environment as well. But if you want this all the features of this machine to stay as coming from this environment, then obviously you can just go for advanced options. In most cases, normally we don't click that advanced options unless that unique information of the machine is required when the machine is exported as well. So VM01 here, export Ovf template and annotation and advanced options. If I press OK here, allow pop-ups to continue downloading. Ouch. Okay, so on the top right I see here there's a pop-up blocker, and pop-ups were blocked on this page. I'll check it out here, and always allow pop-ups and redirects from this page. So I'm just going to select this in my Chrome browser. So I'll just select this option and click done, and I'll try to press OK again, and then I'll just try to do the export, OVF export. Okay, so now it's pretty slow. I thought it was not giving this option, but you can see that there are files that have been downloaded, vm01.mf, then vm01-1.vmdk, then vm01-2.nvram, and then there is vm01.ovf. and up there are, if I just restore down here, there's option. So the first tab is where we were, and the second, third, fourth, fifth tabs are where the files are being downloaded one by one. So if I click this one and this one, so it says here NVRAM, VMDK extension, OVF extension, which is the export extension, and the .mf. So where did it download all that? I'm just gonna select this arrow sign in Chrome browser and go for show in folder, where all the other files are also there, wherever this file is. Okay, so here .mf manifestation file, basically OVF, that's export file, that's the RAM file here, NVRAM, and VMDK, that's the actual virtual disk for the virtual machine. So manifest file just has information about the export, the machine exported, and the current state of the virtual machine. The OVF file is the actual export file that is needed if the machine has to be imported again. Then there is .vmdk file, that is separate virtual disk file, and NVRAM for the virtual memory file. That has these four files have been exported. Normally that it used to be in 6.5, 6.7, that when you export the file, it would just have VMDK, OVF, and MF file there. But now they have also excluded the virtual memory file there as well. Now, why there are so many files, and why not just the .ovf? In fact, when you download some other areas, suppose for other software, when you deploy or download some file, normally it has just the .ovf or actually .ova extension. Why there are four files here? Suppose the file is exported, but this file, this virtual machine actually still needs some more editing. You're allowing someone else for whom you have exported this virtual machine, and you're giving to that person, and you're saying that, okay, you want to attach this VMDK again. You want to put some more software. You can just detach a VMDK, which is a virtual disk file, from one virtual machine and attach it to another virtual machine as well, to just see the contents of the virtual disk inside this file, whatever the data is inside. But basically, when you export, you get four files here, and you want to then obviously secure this. .ovf will let you import this in any other environment. .ovf extension is not there, or this file is not there, you can't really import this. Then you just got the VMDK with you, which is just a virtual disk of that virtual machine. So these four files have been exported, and I need to, so this was the export process. Pretty simple, straightforward. Just right click and go to the template. So this was export OVF template. Now for any virtual machine, this is how you can export a file out of this environment and secure it somewhere. But then how to import the virtual machine. So I'm just going to try to import the same virtual machine back here, and while we are importing, it will ask that, hey, you want to put the same name there, or you want to change that name. We can rename at that time, because we already have that same machine here as well. How to then import? I'm just gonna make this screen bigger for the VMware workstation. And if I go to the data center level here and select it, and then right click here, so there is a deploy OVF template. So if I had gone to that virtual machine and then gone to template, so this is export OVF template. It's called template, but yeah, this is the way we export. And when you go for import, so that is deploy Ovf Template. Now I'm gonna try to go for the same machine and import it as well, because we just need to check that what are the options there to export and what are the options there for import. So I'm going to click that deploy Ovf Template, and for the import process, select an Ovf template from remote URL or local file system. So enter a URL to download and install the Ovf package from the internet, or browse to a location accessible from your computer, such as a local hard drive, a network share, or a CD drive. So if I go to the local file, there is then upload files here. Select a template to deploy. Use multiple selection to select all the files associated with an Ovf template, .ovf, .vmdk. So that's what got exported, and they're saying that go for multiple selections there. I'm going to click that upload files now. So it's giving me the path of the downloads folder of my local machine. And I'll just go for multiple selections. So pressing shift and selecting all of those and open. So it detects 4 files there, and I'm gonna click next. So what's the name of the machine you want? It's going to be VM0-imported. Just changing the name here, and click next. And same E6i2 again, because the E6i1 its RAM is being used by our VCSA, so keep everything to E6i2 and 3. So for now 2. Next. So it's thinking, okay. So the Ovf package contains advanced configuration options which might pose a security risk. I did not select any advanced configuration options. Those that UUID, I think I unselected it. Review the advanced configuration options below. Click next to accept the advanced configuration options. Size on disk, extra configuration, NV RAM, description, no, nothing here. So I'm going to click next, and it's going to go for DS1 or DS2 or 0, whichever, other than the data store with where our VCS is, although it can be there as well. They are empty machines. I'm going to click next here. So it's just saying that when we are importing, so you're going to go for the VM network here, which is the port group of the virtual standard switch, which is the only port group there inside the virtual standard switch of E6i2 hypervisor or host. So yes, that's the port group that my machine should connect to. So no change here. Connect next. Okay, so that's the ready to complete, and I'm going to click finish. So import Ovf package, copying virtual machine configuration inside the recent tasks. We should keep an eye on this. Okay, since it was a empty machine, so it completed fast. Otherwise, it would have it would have taken more time. Okay, so the machine is imported. This is the one.
Yeah, mine is still exporting.
Yours is exported?
Because I did a because I did a Windows machine with virtual machine.
Oh, just got exported, so it took that much time.
It's still my export. It's not done. Still my exporting.
Oh, okay. So you can, yeah. So if I had the operating system, it would have taken the same or even longer time. So you know how to import then? You go to
I figured it out.
well, right click here, E6i2 on the hypervisor, and then deploy Ovf Template. So after that, follow. Cool. Wow. So yeah, it takes a long time, and that's in a production environment. Normally, then machines are even much bigger in size. When import export comes, then we're sometimes waiting for hours. So with 100 GB, 200 GB virtual disk space. Now import export, this is what the OVF is really used for, and it's pretty straightforward process there. Deploy OVF to import, and export OVF is in the template. Export OVF template is for exporting actually a virtual machine out of the environment. So that's import export as well, and then comes our bit longer topic, and that is the virtual standard switch. So the virtual standard switch is deployed, as we discussed already. It is deployed in all okay, let me just put that other one. In all hypervisors, when you deploy the hypervisors, they are already available there. So if I go for this diagram now, here, let's go for then the virtual standard switch. So it's VSS is deployed on all hypervisors by default, obviously, and we have already mentioned discussed that there's port group there, and there's a VM kernel port. So let's try to explore some more of it inside this hypervisor. So I'll just try to grab. So where is the virtual standard switch? If I go inside our environment, so each hypervisor has a virtual standard switch. Also, I'm just gonna turn off all the machines, virtual machines. Right click here, power off. Okay. So E6i2, E6i1. So I'm going to go to E6i2 where I am already actually. So here on the right side, we can see here networks. On the right side, we see networks. So first we select the E6i2 hypervisor, and then we click networks here. In the networks, so we have this networks showing here, and then there's a distributed switch that is showing here as well. Now that's what is showing, or it's connected with this. We didn't, if I click the distributed switch, obviously we didn't create that. We will be creating that, so it's not showing. But what network is available in terms of the port group that is showing with E6i2. But this is just to show what is already there. But how to configure and go more in depth, there's a so I'm going to still keep the E6i2 selected, and then I'm going to click configure. Also close this, it's taking a lot of screen space. Yeah, so E6i2 and configure. So in the configure we have storage, we have networking, virtual machines related options. If I keep going down, system. So if I just collapse this, there's storage, then collapse this, networking, then virtual machine, then system, hardware, virtual flash, which is virtual flash just means that more SSD is made available for the virtual machines. But these are the categories of one hypervisor here. I'm gonna expand storage. Then what we need to do is actually we need to inside everything we need to do now is inside the networking area of this hypervisor or any other hypervisor. So I'm going to expand that networking, and we can see here virtual switches. So E6i2 hypervisor or host configure, and then networking. And if I click the virtual switches here, so they show a nice diagram of what is configured on our only one virtual switch, which is by default vSwitch 0. So we don't get to rename the switches. Switches are just available. vSwitch 0 is normally available by default, but others are others can be created, and we're going to be creating them as well. So guys, just give me a second. Yeah. So here, what virtual switches, and so on the right side is the physical side of the virtual switch, and the left side of this switch is the software side. So this is the software side, and this is the physical side of the switch. So if we check our diagram as well, we have a virtual standard switch for E6i2 here, and during the first installation, of the E6i2 or the hypervisor, the virtual standard switch is connected to a physical network card by default. So that's what it's showing here. That if we go back, that this vSwitch 0 is connected to a physical adapter, but it's just one physical adapter. And on the left side you can see management network. That's the VM kernel port, and then you see a VM network, which is a port group that is to which 7 virtual machines, in my case 7 virtual machines are connected right now. 2, 3, 4, whatever number of virtual machines are there, they're basically connected to this. If I expand that, so first of all, this virtual, so I'm just going to expand that too, and so this management network is a VM kernel port that helps. This is a management network is a advanced feature that is already available in a hypervisor, and it is connected to our default switch vSwitch 0, right? And this VM kernel port lets us connect from our vCenter VCSA. VCSA is remotely connected to this hypervisor because of this management network feature here that is provided with the help of a VM kernel port. With the help of VM kernel port, we're going to be adding vMotion feature, and which is a critical feature. And then as we discussed before, that we can introduce the networking configuration of the advanced features like fault tolerance, vMotion, virtual SAN, and this management network, which is already there. So this first advanced feature that the VM kernel port, with the help of VM kernel port that we introduced, is for us to connect remotely and manage the whole hypervisor with a lot of huge list of options. So this management network port obviously is supposed to be there. It is there in every hypervisor by default, and VM kernel port has added that management network feature during the installation of hypervisor. But the second one is VM network, and that is a port group, right? So this port group, the only purpose of port group is to let the virtual machines connect to each other and to the outside world. right? So virtual machines will all be connected. So virtual machines are showing here, and those virtual machines are connected to this vSwitch 0, right? So this switch 0 with the help of a port group called VM network. So VM network port group by default gets created because obviously virtual machine needs to connect to the virtual switch. In order for them to do that, they have to connect to a port group that is part of a virtual switch. And so the port group is the reason that virtual machines can connect to our virtual switch. Now, virtual machines cannot directly connect to a vSwitch 0. They cannot even see a vSwitch 0. They only see a VM network port group. They only see a port group, which is an extension or a part of the virtual switch 0. So virtual machines do not see the physical adapter. They do not see the virtual switch. They just see a port group, and that port group in turn connects to the switch, and that virtual switch connects to a physical adapter. So the virtual machines not only can communicate with each other, but to the outside world with the help of they hit the VM network. VM network connects to the virtual switch. 0 virtual switch is already connected to this physical network adapter, which is outside connected to a physical switch and router and so on. So this yeah. So what I'm trying to say here is every hypervisor will have a vSwitch 0, and this is the physical side. This is a software side, and in the software physical side there will be at least one physical adapter there. We're going to be adding now another one here just to check that. Okay, can we create redundancy for this virtual switch? Can we give it 2 adapters? Will they do nick teaming for that? Nick teaming, you must have heard that before, that you can nick team the network cards for LBFO, which is load balancing and failover. So we're going to be adding later to another network card to check it out, how to do that, and to provide redundancy. So we're talking about VM network port group right now and management network. So now VM network, which is a port group. Now this is just the default one. Suppose you have you want to do some organization. There is sales machine here, and maybe there are 20 sales, 10 sales virtual machines there, and 5 marketing virtual machines there. So and they're all connected to the default port group, and through that all the traffic is going to the virtual switch 0 and to the physical adapter and outside. So you can actually create another port group which can be sales PG port group and then marketing PG, right? And so this is for organization purpose, that you can create more port groups there and then disconnect the virtual machine from the default port group. Suppose this virtual machine belongs to the sales department, these 2 virtual machines belong to the sales department, so you can detach it from this port group and attach it to the new port group that you would create there. And then suppose these virtual machines are marketing, so you can detach it from the default port group and attach it to the new one. So here, yes, we can create port groups for we can say organization purpose. That's the first thing. Second thing is that port groups are not like in Windows you have, or Active Directory you have organizational units, right? So you create sales OU in Microsoft Active Directory, and then marketing OU, and then you put the objects there, users, groups. Here, yes, port groups can be created for organization purpose, but they do serve much deeper purpose. Excuse me. There are long list of features inside every port group. There are long list of features. So port groups are not only for organization, but now we're going to explore that. What are the other long list of features inside a port group? And you can create many more port groups there. So what we can do is we can go for another port group there. Now we are on vSwitch 0, right? There is add networking here, there is edit option there, there is manage physical adapters. So obviously that is just self-explanatory that you can add more physical adapters here. Then there are 3 dots. So this is the area where you can handle all the features of vSwitch 0, right? So if I go to the 3 dots first, so there is migrate VM kernel adapter, view settings, and remove. So that is this VM kernel adapter. But what we're gonna do is we can just go for add networking here, this one. Now when we click the add networking, so I clicked on add networking, right? vSwitch 0. Well, there's only one vSwitch, but we're going to be creating more vSwitches there. So once we add networking, there's a lot of stuff that we can do for vSwitch 0 inside vSwitch 0, and that is you can add VM kernel network adapter for what? If you want to introduce any of the advanced features like vSphere vMotion, which is virtual machine migration, iSCSI, which is multi-pathing, you can just give multiple storage paths, NFS, network file system, or you want to connect this to the Linux shared folders, and fiber channel over Ethernet FCOE, you want to introduce that, and fiber channel is there coming to this hypervisor. Fault tolerance is just for high availability of virtual machine. vSAN, that's the cheaper local disk-based highly available storage or data store, and host management. So these are the advanced features that their networking side is covered by VM kernel network adapter. One of these features is already here, and that is host management, right? So if I cancel, so this management network feature is already installed. I'm going to click that, add networking again. The rest of the features we're going to be exploring one by one. So VM kernel adapter, are we here to add a VM kernel adapter? Nope. That will be an upcoming topic. Multiple times we're going to be adding those. But right now, virtual machine port group for a standard switch. Are we here to add a virtual machine port group? Yes. We want to add 2 port groups now. One is sales port group and the other is marketing port group, as we discussed that scenario before. So the virtual machine port group for a standard switch, I'm just going to select that. Virtual machine port group for a standard switch. Why am I selecting that? Because I need to create 2 more port groups just to show the options of port groups, that yes, we can create more port groups for first thing, organization purpose. So yes, this is exactly what we're doing for organization purpose, but port groups have a long list of other features which we will explore as well. So I'm selecting this virtual machine port group for a standard switch. Okay, I'm going to keep it selected and click next. So when I go there, it says there, select an existing standard switch. Yes, I don't want to create. I don't want to create a new switch. I will add port group to a standard switch or the existing virtual switch 0. But if I wanted, I can create a vSwitch 1, vSwitch 2, vSwitch 3, vSwitch 4 from here. For now, I'm adding a port group to the existing virtual standard switch, so I could divide the virtual machines into different port groups. They all connect to the same switch, but just for organization purpose. I'm going to click, so no change on this page, and I'm going to click next. Okay, so now we can give a name to this port group. As we know that default name of a port group is VM network, right? But we can actually change that to whatever we want. Suppose I go for sales-pg port group. Now there's one more thing. Whenever you're creating port groups, it's always stick to some kind of naming convention. It's always a good idea to do that, because as your environment increases in size, there may be a lot of port groups that you need to create. What happens is that, suppose you just put a name sales PG, and suppose you have vSwitch 0, which is already there, and then vSwitch 1, vSwitch 2, vSwitch 3, vSwitch 4, and up to maybe 10 vSwitches there. Suppose you create 10 virtual standard switches on ESXi 2, right? Now, virtual machines, when you're about to connect the virtual machines to, suppose, virtual standard switch 5. So virtual machine cannot see a vSwitch 5. It can only see the port group of that virtual switch. So it's better when you're creating a port group that you refer to which virtual switch it is connected to. So I'm going to go for VS0. You can name it any other way you want, but virtual switch 0. So sales PG, I get it, but if I don't put VS0, if I want to connect virtual machine to this port group, and if I go inside the virtual machine networking area, from there I will only be able to see port groups. I won't know which virtual standard switch it is coming from if we have multiple virtual standard switches, right? So in slightly bigger environments, you normally, well, for any reason, we can have different multiple standard switches there as well. So I'm just putting VS0 here, that it's this port group actually belongs to virtual standard switch 0, or VSS0, or VS0, vSwitch 0. The thing is that each port group, so all port groups support VLAN as well. So you create port group sales department and you give it VLAN 2, and then you create the port group marketing department and you give it VLAN 3. So then obviously those two virtual machines belonging to sales department and marketing department will not be able to communicate with each other. Suppose there are multiple port groups. One port group is on VLAN 2, one port group is on VLAN 3, one port group is on VLAN 4. Then you create a fifth port group now. So VLAN 2 machines cannot communicate with VLAN 3 machines, VLAN 3 machines cannot communicate with VLAN 4, VLAN 4 cannot communicate with, so each of those different VLAN based machines cannot communicate with each other, right? But you want to create another port group that should be able to communicate with VLAN 2 virtual machines, VLAN 3 virtual machines, VLAN 4 virtual machines, although they cannot communicate with each other at all. So you can select this and all 4095. This means that this port group can communicate with all other this port group with this VLAN can communicate with all other port groups with different VLAN ID. VLAN 2, 3, 4 will still not be able to communicate with each other, but these three will be able to communicate with this particular port group that has this selected here as all 4095. So I'll go for none, 0, but we can just simply use port groups to separate the network traffic and traffic flow with this VLAN ID. So sales PG VS0, right? So belongs to virtual switch 0. So I'm going to click next here, and that's pretty much it to create a port group. So I'm going to click finish. So recent task says completed, and if I drop down, well, I don't have to drop down, it's just showing here. So I'm going to create one more port group here. So I'll go for add networking. It also shows here as well. I'll click add networking, and I'm going to again go for virtual port group, virtual machine port group for a standard switch. Next, I'll still stick to this vSwitch 0 for the third port group now in total. Next, and I can go for MKT-PG-VS0, and I'll keep the VLAN ID 0 and next and finish. Okay, recent task says done. Okay, so two port groups have been created, but the virtual machine number is showing 0 for both because obviously we just created it and we did not attach any virtual machines. While if I go down to the default port group of a hypervisor named VM network, so it has all the virtual machines because whenever we create virtual machines and it automatically attaches it to whichever is the default port group, but we can actually decide that when we are creating virtual machines that which port group we want to connect to if we have more choices there. Now we have more choices, but for now I need to actually detach VM01 and VM01 imported from VM network. I'll detach it from port group VM network and attach it to port group sales PGV as 0. And then I'll go for the other two virtual machines, VM1 template and VM02. I'm going to detach it from port group VM network and attach it to marketing port group of VS0, which is virtual switch 0. Okay, so we know how to create a port group to the same virtual standard switch, but how to detach and attach. I'm going to go to the VM01 here on the left side and right click, and then go to edit settings of a virtual machine, and then go to the network adapter. So you can see in the network adapter that it's already attached to the default port group. If I just drop down this, so there's a browse there. Normally it used to show here the other port groups. I'm going to click browse. If they have added that virtual standard switch, which they didn't, although distribute switch, which we will be doing the lab later, will be showing there, but standard switch does not show. If VM network is, well, it's not if VM network is there, and then the two port groups that we created, if I just remove the VS0 from here and there are multiple standard switches there, I have no idea of knowing that which port group is coming from which virtual standard switch. Anyway, I'm just going to attach this machine to sales and press OK. Sales port group. So now it shows that network adapter of this virtual machine is attached to the other port group in the same standard switch, and I'm going to press OK. Then I'll just quickly go for the other one as per our plan. I'm just going to right click here, edit settings, network adapter, VM network, browse, right, same drill, and we can go for sales. We're connecting this to sales port group, which is still connected to the same virtual standard switch, which is still connected to same one physical NIC. I'm going to press OK here, and I'll go for VM02, 2 and 3. Well, these are showing here, so I'll just go for 2 and 3. Edit settings, network adapter, now we know the drill, browse, go for marketing PGVS0, and then VM03, edit settings, VM network, browse, marketing, OK, and OK. So now the connectivity of the virtual machines to different port groups should be reflected in that vSwitch 0 as well. I want to see that too. So I'm going to go to the hypervisor level or host level or ESXi host level, and then configure, then virtual switches, and now we can see that marketing port group connected to vSwitch 0 has 2 machines. If I expand that, the other 2 machines showing there, and if I go down here, so yes, the 2 machines here, the rest of the 4 machines are still with the default port group. So yes, as per, if we want the organization of these virtual machines, yes, we can connect it to different port groups, so now we create the 2 port groups here and 2 virtual machines attached to each of the port groups. When we expand that virtual machine, so VM02 has 3 dots here, VM03 has 3 dots, right? So if I click the 3 dots for VM02, there's a view settings, which is for virtual machine 2 that just got connected to this new port group here. I'm going to click view settings here, and that just shows you the adapter type and MAC address. I'm going to close that. And so this is just the how to create extra port groups. Other thing is just the design related setting. Now suppose these virtual machines have big applications. Suppose there's a SQL Server database there that consumes a lot of traffic, right? And it's in these two machines, right? And the other machines also has a lot of okay, let me just pull that out as well. So yeah, so there's these two virtual machines, and there are these two virtual machines. Now ultimately they are sending the traffic to the same network card again. I need to show the network card as well, and it's not really trying very. So these virtual machines have a lot of traffic, right? And the rest of the virtual machine here, so the traffic is going through this port group, and this port group is connected like this. There are two of these Ethernet connector types. RJ45 shapes are also connected there. So the traffic is going to, but it's heading towards obviously one physical adapter, and all the traffic coming from this port group here connects to the virtual standard switch, and again obviously goes to the same one physical adapter. So that's not a very good design here. At least if you want to put all the virtual machines with different port groups on a virtual standard switch, at least have two network cards here, right? Or three or four. And well, we actually have more network cards. So what we can do is instead of putting all the pressure on one physical network adapter, how about we put it to two physical adapters there. So what we can do is, if our hypervisor has extra network cards, obviously all hypervisors will have extra network cards, right? So if you have a Dell physical server or HP physical server, IBM physical server, basically you might order 4 or 8 network cards already there, physical NICs, right? Now these are the manage physical adapters. So for this V0, we have manage physical adapters. If I go from here, it's the same thing. You can add a extra physical adapter from here or from here as well. So if you go for manage physical adapter here directly, I'm going to click that, and this is the screen that shows assign adapters. There's a plus sign here, then there's active adapters, standby adapters, unused adapters, right? So, and VMNIC 0, which is the physical NIC actually, is showing here. It's supposed to be the physical NIC. I'm going to click plus sign here to add one more to give that V0 some more support. That you have a lot of virtual machines there, so why should their traffic all be a burden on one network card? I'm going to click plus sign here, and these are all the other network adapters that we added. So VMNIC 1, it is selected, but you can see on the right side, these are all the properties: adapter, type, location, driver, then there is status, connected, actual speed and duplex, 10 gigabits per second, full duplex configured speed duplex, so that is also full duplex, and networks, it's connected to 200.1, IO controlled status allowed, IOV, this is a bit high availability feature. Cisco discovery protocol is not available on this particular adapter. Link layer discovery protocol. So if you've gone through Cisco concepts, so discovery protocol or Cisco discovery protocol would be that the Cisco outside devices, or now virtual devices, if you allow those Cisco devices to discover this network card and the virtual standard switch, so does this network card and virtual standard switch supports that they be discovered by Cisco devices. So there's that Cisco Discovery Protocol. Then there's link layer discovery protocol, which is just attaching two or more ports there to make it a little the traffic could go faster. And the remote direct access memory, that is this virtual machine is given through network card when the traffic is more, and more memory is required as well, so more access to the direct memory is given. So these are some of the features of a network card that are here. It says it's not available because it needs to be connected to a distributed switch, which is another upcoming topic. We're going to be adding a distributed switch on vCenter directly, and then we're going to check it out. So VMNIC1 is there. It is selected already, and I'm going to press OK. So once I press OK, so it gets added here in the active adapters type. Oh, okay, okay, so here VMNIC1, VMNIC0, VMNIC1, right? So these two are both active adapters. But then there's standby adapters and there's unused adapters. So I'm going to keep it selected VMNIC1, but there are two arrow signs here, right? I'm going to go for the down arrow sign while this adapter is selected. Once I click that, so now it's a standby adapter. So active is still VMNIC0, but this is on standby. If anything happens to the active one, it goes down, it's not available, standby is supposed to automatically become active, right? So suppose first I do this configuration and press OK, then I'm going to come back here again. But suppose I do this configuration and then I'm going to press OK. So recent task is completed, and there are two network adapters we can see now. And if I click management network here, if I click the written management network, and if you click on top of this, so there is two adapters showing, but one is highlighted, it's orange. If I go for the port group, I select that, again one is highlighted, one is not highlighted. So whichever is highlighted is actually being used right now. And if I go to the other port group, and again one is only being used or highlighted. If I go for the third port group here, then again it is just highlighting one. Well, obviously when we told that hey, use just one active adapter, so it is then highlighting one. But how about we want to actually want to use both adapters there, right? So you already know what to do now. I'm going to click that manage physical adapters. I'm going to select that VMNIC1, and there's an up arrow here to put this in active adapters, right? And then I will go down to press OK. So recent task is completed, and now you can see that both adapters, it's already nickteamed. And if I click that management network, yes, it still can use only one adapter, but if you go to port groups, they can use actually both network adapters, and this traffic can use actually the NIC team, the team of network adapters, instead of just one network adapter. So that's where we actually need it, because the virtual machines do send a lot of traffic. This is just our administration link, right? Management network, VM kernel port. This is letting us connect from the vCenter to this hypervisor. So it's our communication here through VM kernel port, right? Although it's obviously critical, but it does not take a lot of traffic. While the virtual machines will carry a lot of traffic. For those, two adapters are available. When you click on the management network, it's only one adapter that is available. And so how to add two network adapters, that's what we were talking about, and how to assign them both there. Now there's one more thing about the physical adapter. If I click that, I'm going to click that manage physical adapter again. Now if we want to actually achieve LBFO, what is LBFO? Load balancing and failover. So this is doing load balancing, LB now, right? There is no failover. Well, automatically, obviously, if one goes down, the traffic will go through the other one, so failing over is achieved as well. But normally with 3 adapters minimum, you can have LBFO fully added. I'm going to add one more adapter to just give an example, but then I'm going to remove that adapter. We just need 2 adapters for now for VCP7. We don't need 3 adapters, but I'm just adding to just make a point. I'm going to click again and add one more adapter, which I will temporarily, which I will remove later. So there are 3 adapters now. Yes, we can have 3 active adapters as well, but I'm going to put this third adapter with the down arrow. I'm going to put it down under standby adapters. So now this would be a proper LBFO where 1 is on standby, 2 are active. The traffic is being load balanced on 2. If any one of those are affected, then the third one will simply switch to active adapters, right? So that's the LBFO you can achieve with 3 adapters. Otherwise, basically it's load balancing going on here. But yes, services will fail over to the only adapter if one of them goes down. Also, if I just click this, so this adapter can further go down to unused adapter. So it's pretty much like if it was available. If you're saying unused here on for this, so obviously it's not gonna switch automatically to standby or active adapters. It's gonna be a manual process then, that you come here and then just simply drag it up for standby adapter or for active adapters. So so this is the point that LBFO can be achieved, that you want to put a third network card for standby. And I'm going to click across on the third one. We just need 2 here. We don't need to use the third one, so I'm just going to click across here. Okay. So that's 2 adapters here. Now this becomes then even more important for our most critical machine, right? And that is living on top of ESXi1, from which we are controlling the whole environment. So this machine in ESXi1, does it have 2 adapters there? And did we actually add 9 adapters there? If I go to ESXi1 and settings, oh, we added at least, total 4 adapters are there, so that's good. Others have 10 total. So this same setting we can actually try to go for or achieve for the first machine. So if I go to ESXi1, which has our VCSA, that's the most critical hypervisor. ESXi1 configure and virtual switches. So that's a good thing about VMware vCenter as well, that suppose, well, in ESXi2 you were on this view, ESXi2 you were on configure and you were on virtual switches. Now you want to compare that same settings on other hypervisors. So when you click the other hypervisor, it will stay on this view wherever you are on the first hypervisor, right? So it will start on the other hypervisor with the same selection here wherever you were. Then it becomes a very good comparison. Instead of going to first hypervisor, then selecting configure, then selecting virtual switch again, it is simply on that view. Okay, so ESXi1, I see that same default configuration, which is that there's VM kernel port, there is 1 VM network and just 1 machine. We kept it that way, obviously, with 1 virtual machine, because that's the most critical machine here, the VCSA. But it also has 1 network adapter. So what we can do is we can just simply go for giving it another adapter. Since we added 3 more adapters there, we can use them now. I'm going to click that manage physical adapters for ESXi1, and you know the drill now. So I'm going to click manage physical adapter, and I'm going to click plus sign here to add 1 more adapter to our most critical machine here and most critical hypervisor. We have NIC1 is already selected, and press OK. So we have 2 active adapters for our most critical virtual machine. Now what I would do later is that I would create a copy of all 4 virtual machines and put it inside this desktop somewhere else, or if I have enough time, I'll just export it to my external drive as well, or just to keep this configuration intact, because we're going to build on top of that a lot of other stuff as well. Okay, so these two are there. I'm going to press OK, but does our most critical machines management network VM kernel port, when I click on top of that, is it using two adapters or one? So I can clearly see it's using one adapter for management connection. If I go to the only port group, default port group there, for our VCSA, it is using two adapters there. So that's okay. But suppose you want the management network to use two adapters as well. So then we go down deep into the port group itself, that how port groups really work. Okay, so here on the port group, I just want to change this setting of that, hey, I want to use for the basic connectivity to the hypervisor, I want to use both adapters for that. Although, yeah, you may not need, it's very less traffic, yes. What if something happens to that only network adapter that is being used to basically connect to this hypervisor? If you lose this, it's not going to switch over to the other one, right? So that's why we can just assign this. By default, the management network uses one, but you can put it on two as well. So how is that possible? We now have to go inside a port group, which we haven't gone till now. In fact, we haven't gone to the vSwitch internal features as well, right? But just to show you that, let's put that connection of management, which is connecting vCenter to hypervisor. Let's put it to on redundant network cards as well. So there's a three dots here on the management network. Now I'm on E6I1, virtual switches, configure virtual switches, and then vSwitch 0 and management network. So there are three dots here. If I select here, so there's view settings, and then there is edit settings. So if I click the VM kernel port management network for vSwitch 0 for E6I1, I'll click the edit settings, and it then shows me, okay, I cannot drag it down. I'll make it full screen here.
Amir, I can't select the edit settings. It's grayed out for me.
Which one?
When you click on management network and you click on the three dots, I don't get an edit setting option.
Edit setting is not there. You're saying it's grayed out, right?
Grayed out, yeah.
Grayed out, yeah.
Are you logged in from the administrator?
Yeah, administrator.
Yeah, administrator.
At
Yeah.
vSphere or administrator at the domain you Microsoft?
No, administrator at vSphere.
Then you have to sign out from all the browsers wherever you're logged in from this, and then close the browser, and then log in from one tab of the browser again, and
we close.
Log out and log in again.
But to sign out from all the browsers. Okay. And the last resort for that, sometimes it's really stubborn. Last resort normally is the most frustrating one. That you go to the browser and simply remove the whole history there.
I get it.
Okay. I get it.
Right?
Okay.
Bookmark and remove the bookmarks there.
Let me try logging out, logging in.
So, management network, three dots, and edit settings. Now it's showing there. Okay, so properties, security, traffic shaping, teaming and failover. So these are those, all the features in one port group, because port group is just not only for organization, but it has a lot of features to offer as well. That's what make the networking of VMware so special. So properties, management network, and instead of going through all this, I'm just taking you to the last feature here, teaming and failover for that management network. So if I click that, so you can see that on teaming and failover for this management network, VM kernel port is that the second adapter is actually in the unused area. So this is why when we click the management network, it shows just one here, because by default this VM kernel port is allowed to use by default one network adapter, but we can change it to 2, 3, 4, 5. It's just that it doesn't use a lot of traffic. But what if that one network adapter it is connected to has some fault, and then we are not able to, our connection is frozen, we're not able to connect at all. Yes, no traffic, but yes, we can still give it 2 adapters. So I'm going to click 3 dots where we were already and click edit settings. And teaming and failover. So I can just select this in under the unused adapters and just simply put it on either standby or actually active adapters. So there will be 2 adapters active. Traffic is not much there, but you know, we're connecting through 2, or if one goes down, the other one is still available. It could be on standby, it could be active as well. So I'm going to press.
So I had a question. So as soon as the VM next 0 goes down, the other one will be replaced with the VM next 1. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay, awesome.
Okay, so here, VM 1, and I'm just gonna press OK. So for our most critical hypervisor, because of this critical VCSA virtual machine here, this hypervisor now has, and it can use from our connectivity from the vCenter to the hypervisor. That connectivity is going through 2 network cards. That connectivity can use 2 network cards now, right, instead of 1. Other than that, obviously the virtual machine, whatever amount of traffic is being released, it already is allowed to use 2 network adapters. So this is just for connectivity. Okay, so we talked about, I'm just going to go back to E6i2. And on E6i2, we created multiple port groups. We detached virtual machines from default port group to the newly created port groups there. Also, we talked about VLANs there. Then we added the 2 network adapters, and then we checked that how to, they're going to be by default made redundant for virtual machines, because virtual machines have a lot of traffic. But normally they are not by default redundant for management network because there's not much traffic. So that's by default, but whatever your compliance policy is, you can just follow that and make it redundant for all hypervisors as well. So we now know how to make that redundant as well. So we were talking about port groups, how to create them, attach, detach. Then we were talking about the managed physical adapters. But we can go into the virtual switch 0 more in-depth settings, and then we're going to compare those in-depth settings with the port group settings, right? We went through one port group and or VM kernel adapter, and you saw that there were many other features there as well. So normally what happens is, whatever you configure up there in vSwitch 0 is inherited obviously by the port group as well. So first of all, let me just show you why are we comparing features of vSwitch 0 with port group. Does the port group have all the features of vSwitch 0? So I'm gonna, vSwitch 0 is there, I'm on that level, I'm gonna click edit, right? Once we click edit, so first of all, I'm gonna go a little fast just to show you a comparison of the virtual standard switch overall, how many features are there, and then the port group, overall how many features are there. So properties, number of ports, security, there are some features we're going to be discussing. Traffic shaping is there for capping the bandwidth, and traffic and failover has some more features. This is the switch level features, right? So security, traffic shaping, and teaming and failover for the whole switch. I'm going to cancel out from here, and if I go to any one port group here, suppose I go for the newly created port group here, and go to the three dots there and edit settings. So it has properties, security, traffic shaping, and teaming and failover as well. But you would notice one thing, there's an override written here. Override, override, override. Traffic shaping, there's override. Security, there's override, 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 right? So this means that the virtual switch 0 level configurations are normally inherited by each port group, but you can override those features on the port group level, right? And why would you want to do that? So we have to understand the features first of the virtual switch 0, which are the exact same features in the port group as well, other than just one feature, MTU. All others, so every port group is an exact copy of a virtual switch, so you can override those features on a port group level. Cancel. So okay, we understand that vSwitch 0, all features will be inherited by each port group, and each port group can override any of those features. Suppose there are very critical machines on this port group, marketing PG, right? And so whatever security features are on the switch level may be not enough for these two only critical machines, but for other less critical virtual machines in other port groups, those features are okay. But those security features may not be as good for these two critical machines. So then you can go to just this port group and change those security features that were being inherited by the switch. You can override those features for just these two critical virtual machines in this particular port group, right? So when you put some virtual machines with critical applications there, yes, on the port group level you can make some changes as well, which can go against the virtual switch level features. So first we will go for vSwitch 0 level features here. Then we're going to explore the same features and compare them with any one port group level feature, because every port group is exactly the same. So we're going to explore one port group and you will understand, okay, these are the features of every port group. So first of all, vSwitch 0 level, what are the features there on the switch level? So if I go to edit for the vSwitch 0, so here we can see that on the vSwitch 0 there are properties. So first of all, number of ports is elastic. So total ports that you can use are 128 ports, and elastic just means that if you keep on connecting more virtual machines and more virtual machines, automatically the ports will be allotted there. Actually, the ports are on 128 ports are actually on port group level. You can give 128 ports, not on the switch level, because you have, then suppose you have here 8 port groups there, or 5 port groups, or 2 port groups there. So each port group supports 128 ports, which means 128 virtual machines maximum can connect to one port group, right? I'm going to go back to edit the virtual switch and properties. So elastic just means that, hey, number of ports, yeah, whatever you want, we're just gonna arrange it automatically. You don't have to manually be assigning any port group port to a virtual machine. It's just virtual machine gets attached automatically to a port group. And MTU, this is the packet size. Normally we don't touch it unless we have a very good reason. So MTU is just maximum transmission unit. So you want to make the packet size larger, so more data it can be carried, more payload can be carried per packet. So then you can change the size to it or of it. Normally we don't touch it. So then there is security here, and security is promiscuous mode, MAC address changes, forged transmits. Now promiscuous mode is that if we need more diagnostic data, so then you can allow the promiscuous mode there. And suppose you want to know you want to actually grab from a sniffer, like Wireshark sniffer. you want to grab data that is going out of the virtual machines here, just to know that, okay, why traffic is dropping, why the traffic is not reaching there, or why there is too much bandwidth consumption when traffic is during the peak times. So then you can put it to allow, and then it will release more traffic, right? And that more traffic will have more diagnostic details there as well. So then when you grab the data from Wireshark, it's going to just be, you can just read out from all that traffic there. Like diagnostic data can give you more details there. And other than that, MAC address changes and forged transmits is just that normally, do you want to allow MAC address changes? MAC address of when you create a virtual machine, so the MAC address of the virtual machine is allotted by the hypervisor. And do you want to allow the change of MAC address for our virtual machine? Why would you want to do that even? This is normally used with load balancers, LBs, right? Load balancers with unicast traffic or multicast traffic. At that time, there's a load balancer there, and there's a physical switch outside. So that physical switch really wants to then know that, hey, how many virtual machines are there? And suppose you're saying that it's a unicast load balancing going on. So there's one virtual machine in the front, and there are all virtual machines in the back. But you want to give the MAC address only of that virtual machine to the physical switch. So physical switch will just see that, oh, there's only one virtual machine from which the data is coming, although the data is coming from all those virtual machines which are in the back end of that virtual machine where the load balancer is configured. So MAC address would be, you want to allow changing the MAC address if you're using load balancers for huge traffic coming to a lot of virtual machines there. Otherwise, you can keep it on reject. Also, forged transmits is that there are so hacker attacks that could happen as well, and they would try to go for getting the MAC address of the virtual machines. So you don't want this to be discoverable, so you can just keep it on reject as well. And security, when we talk about security, then there is traffic shaping. So traffic shaping is just capping or putting a limit on how much bandwidth you're allowed to use, and you cannot go more than the allotted bandwidth. So average bandwidth kilobit per second is they say here 100,000 kilobits per second. So peak bandwidth 100,000, and then burst size in kilobytes here is 100 and 24. So 10,000 to 2,400, right? So no, it's not 10,000. It's 100. So the thing is, you want to put a cap on that, right? Which means that all the virtual machines through this virtual switch cannot go more than 10,000 kilobits per second if you enable that. Otherwise, there is no cap. If you disable it, obviously this feature is not being used at all. But if you want to put a cap on, hey, there are some non-critical virtual machines on vSwitch 0, or all virtual machines connected to vSwitch 0 are non-critical. vSwitch 1 has all the critical virtual machines. So vSwitch 0 virtual machines, we're not allowing them to use more bandwidth. So you can then put a cap here, enable it, and put your values there. Otherwise, for suppose vSwitch 1 has critical virtual machines, so I would not put that cap on the critical virtual machines. And then there is teaming and failover. Now there is load balancing there, network failure detection, and notify switches, failback. So there is a route based on virtual port or IP hash. So what is this? So load balancing can happen on the basis of IP hash or MAC hash or virtual port, originating virtual port, or explicit failover. So what happens is that you have multiple virtual machines here, and you have then VSS here, and that virtual standard switch has NIC 1 and NIC 2 and NIC 3 here. So if you select IP hash, so when the first time, the day one, when the traffic comes out and or in through the virtual standard switch, it suppose randomly just allots NIC 2. So NIC 2 then realizes that okay, it remembers the IP hash. IP hash is just IP address information. So it remembers that IP address information. Now from now onwards, only this machine's traffic will only go through network card 2 unless it is overwhelmed and the traffic can be redirected to NIC 1 or NIC 3. Otherwise, it's going to always use NIC 2 for that. It's not going to be round robin. So MAC hash concept is same, that suppose this machine sent a traffic and it was randomly assigned to NIC 1, but it remembered the MAC address of this machine. Now all the traffic from this machine will always go through this unless it is overwhelmed, and it will change to NIC 2 or NIC 3. So that's the main concept. Then originating virtual ports, so suppose there is port 25 traffic, which is email, or port 1433 traffic, which is database, or 53, which is DNS, or any other traffic. It just remembers that protocol the first day, and then that kind of traffic only goes through that network card unless it is overwhelmed and it is redirected to the other one. And here, use explicit failover just means that if the traffic assign any one network card, and if it is overwhelming, then just simply fail over to the other one. What failover just means that if it's overwhelming, then keep on going. When it simply gets goes down, then only fail over to the other one. So failing over obviously will still not stop any type of traffic. It's just that you're going to go this way, that if it's really not working, only then fail over to the other one. So there are 4 types here. By default, it is on virtual port here. There is also 2 types here in link network failure detection. So link status only and beacon probing. So link status only first is that your virtual machine, your hypervisor or virtual switch 0 will try to detect, hey, I'm connected to the physical NIC, and from there I'm connected to a physical switch. Then there is another switch here as well. So so am I going to be, so there is another NIC here, and this is connected to another switch. So my status, my link status, is it up or down? If it is down, it's going to just update the switch that my direct connection is down right now, right? So link status just means that check the status if it is up or down. Beacon probing just means that you send a probe. Suppose there's a NIC that you're connecting to, and then there's a switch that you're connected to. This switch is also connected to another switch, and this switch is connected to actually maybe 2 switches there, and there are further network cards here as well that are connected to further switches. So beacon probing just means that, hey, can you check my surrounding network if any of the links are down? So suppose there's a switch connected, but that connection is down from that switch to the other switch. So beacon probing will tell that, okay, yes, your direct connection to the switch is good, but that switch is actually disconnected with the next switch. So beacon probing helps the vSwitch 0 to decide, okay, let me just send the data through the other network card to the other switch. So probing just means that try to discover my surrounding environment and check it out if we are connected or disconnected. And then notify switches yes or no. Obviously, vSwitch 0 should know that if there is any issue of load balancing or failure. And failback. Failback is just that VMNIC went down, VMNIC 0 went down, and VMNIC 1 took over, and the traffic is going through it. VMNIC 0 came back up again, so the traffic will be switched back to VMNIC 0 again, right? So that is failback. You click no, so then traffic will keep on going to the failed over one, even if the original one came back up, right? So this is just the features of vSwitch 0, and we will be then doing a small repeat of these features in next class, because by then we would have forgotten it, right? So then we're going to compare these features with the port group, and then we're going to do a small lab on virtual standard switch, where we're going to create vSwitch 1, vSwitch 2, vSwitch 3, and we're going to check out that how does it all work, just to explore all the options of multiple switches and what are the strategies we can adopt. Why would we even create multiple switches? So, well, this was just inside features of virtual standard switch. So I'm going to cancel out from here, and for now, yeah, the time's up. So we're going to continue this discussion next class as well. Right now, we can just right click and suspend at least the first two machines, and see you next week then at 3.
Take care.
All right.
Take care.
See you. Bye. Suspend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Adios. Adios.
Yes.